Hello there. Sorry about that. Sorry, I had to delete the other video because all of a sudden I had had some dinner, so sorry about that. So, we've got some new updates. Carl Phillips on Twitter said that 1/4 of results counted in the New Zealand election, National still convincingly ahead of Labour. So, at the moment, as we can see here from the latest, that 20% of the results have been counted, and National is sitting right at the top of 46.1%. Labour is sitting by 36.3%. I'm going to read a few of these. Gareth Morgan, who founded the Opportunities Party, that's top, whose key policies was to address the crisis in housing affordability, has been speaking to Sky News about his dissatisfaction with voters. I'm incredibly disappointed because, they're screwing the younger generation. They're screwing the people who are in poverty. You bet they New Zealand voters are selfish. By far the biggest driver of the average voter's decision was completely and utter self-interest. I'm not very proud of a society that holds that in such high regard. I'm ashamed of it. So let's go back to the live stream.
But we're seeing that return and consolidation to Labour, the big party on the left.
Cara, you've been keeping an eye on other elections in the past few years in
Auckland. Good evening, Phil.
Hi, Hillary. How you doing?
Yeah, look, I'm doing fine. How are you doing? 36% with 27% of the vote counted. Did you expect to do better than that at this stage?
Yeah, I think probably we would have hoped to do a bit better, but it's still early days. There's a lot of this advanced voting numbers are coming through. Well, they're obviously feeding them in early in the night, so I'd wait a bit longer before drawing too many conclusions.
Okay, well, just looking at your electorate, Te Atatu, you're only ahead by 600 votes at this stage.
Yeah, so last election, I remember it well. The majority started off small, but it got a lot bigger by the end of the night. So, yeah, too early to say. Different booths from different parts of the electorate.
Okay, so you're not too worried about that?
No.
Okay. On a positive note, of course, Labour doing very well in the Māori seats.
Yeah, that's been extremely important for us to see all 7 Labour Māori electorate candidates coming through big time. I mean, to see Tamati Coffey looking well positioned to take Wairiki, and Adrian Rurafe also in Te Tai Hau Auru. That'll be a massive sweep for Labour and incredibly important for our relationship with Māoridom.
Have you spoken to Jacinda Ardern?
Not yet, but I understand they're serving up barbecued sausages on the street front out in front of her place in Point Chev right now, so probably quite a good place to be.
Are you expecting her early in the evening?
A little early to say, Hillary. I'm not sure.
Oh, we seem to have lost you there. Okay, that was Phil Twyford at the Labour Party HQ down at Aotea Centre. Things pretty quiet there at the moment. Do you think they should have expected a little bit more at this stage?
Yes. Yeah. I think what I think actually happened was the National Party ran that very effective campaign about income tax, and I know it actually had enormous effect. I was speaking to the meat workers just today. They had 3 big stop work meetings. This was Labour voters who were saying about the income tax. Oh, it's going up, it's going up. That was a very strategic move by National. Dishonest, but effective.
Why can't
and it got the swing vote. Well, the National Party always runs tax. I think that the way they were positioning their tax cut, that means that Labour's raising the taxes. It came in very late, and it's very hard to quickly turn around, particularly as this campaign has been taxed a number of times. Yeah. And suddenly that was extraordinarily effective. So the votes which were swinging towards Labour, I think it drained away in the last few days. I think it took about 2% off them.
Okay.
And I think
I want to come back to that because it's a very important point. Because if Labour don't get up tonight, you can sheet it back to that. cut, because that was a major mistake. We just hold that thought. Corin Dan is at the wall with some more numbers for us.
Yeah, I just want to go through some of these numbers just to reflect where they are. National at 46, Labour 36, New Zealand First 7, Greens 6. If we look at just where that lands with seats in the House, we've got 57, 45, 9 and 8. Now, I've been speaking to Richard Arnold. He is our statistician tonight. On his predictions, using his formula, he thinks this is where it will end up. So even though we've only got, 28% of the vote counted at the moment, his prediction is that that is not going to change much, if at all. I want to bring your attention to another thing too. New Zealand First, slightly ahead of the Greens. Now, that could be important in terms of that jockeying between the Greens and New Zealand First in any potential centre-left coalition. I think it's significant that New Zealand First is slightly higher. That's important to Winston Peters, that he has a slightly bigger proportion of the vote potentially than the Greens. So if you're looking at that centre-left scenario, that could be a factor.
So just to be clear, Corin, so Richard's prediction is that the Maori Party are not going to win any seats.
Not at this stage, no. I think that's probably where the biggest variable would be, because you're talking obviously a small numbers in those seats. But I think the key one that he is happy with is at 57 to National, 45 to Labour, and there's this top line. And also the Greens too, so he's confident that they're safe. They're over that 5% threshold, there's no issue there. His statistics is telling him they are fine. So I think people need to get used to that top line. That is the predicted number at the moment.
So in other words, either of them could become the government over the next couple of days.
I tell you though, I think that National will go down from that, because in the last election, at 31% of the vote counted, they were sitting on 48.89. Went down to 47.04.
On the special.
Yeah, so there's still a good 1.5 to drop for them.
You got to think maybe that the centre-left might pick up another one off the specials, either the Greens or Labour picks it up.
It fundamentally doesn't matter though at the end of the day, does it? Because I mean, it's the difference is they're there or thereabouts. Someone's going to tip them either way, and that's New Zealand First is what it boils down to at the end of the day.
It would still be quite an impressive result for National. If that's what they end up with on the night, going into a fourth term, English I think would sit back and be quite pleased.
Oh, you can't. Well, if you're in government, you can't argue with that, can you? Let's go to Katie Bradford, speaking of the National Party at HQ, Sky City tonight. Katie.
Yes, hello. Well, this room is starting to fill up now. Hundreds of people coming in. I think people are still a bit cautious. There's a lot of nerves around about that result, as we heard from Stephen Joyce earlier. But just from talking to people, I think while it's clear that National is ahead, they don't want to take anything for granted. And there are some of those key seats you've been talking about there that people are interested in, worried about. Waiariki, of course, is a big one if the Māori Party are out.
Okay, as far as it's a difficult thing because they're going to go home tonight not knowing, aren't we? I mean, this is what we've established now. We don't know who the government is going to be. I suppose they can be happy they've got 46% after 9 years in power. If you're still pulling 46%, that's no bad thing. But the reality is someone's got to lift the phone to Winston, don't they?
Yeah, of course. And look, I think that 46% is probably higher than many here thought they might get. The question is, of course, though, would they call the Greens? Is there any possibility that Bill English would consider doing that? He will be thinking about that. The other thing here that will buoy National slightly is if they win Northland back from Winston Peters, which, of course, at this stage they're looking like it. That may create some tension in that New Zealand First National relationship, you would think. But I think, the first call would surely be to Winston Peters tomorrow morning.
What would your sense, I mean, English and Peters go back a long way. Peters has never met a Dern. You reckon that makes any difference?
I think so. They know each other. I think that will help them at least start that conversation, start building that conversation. I think one of the issues will be that waiting to see what the special votes bring in as well and how that may affect the Greens and New Zealand First in terms of what they get, but also Labour with that. And Winston Peters will be looking for that as well. I think that history between National and New Zealand First, while it has been difficult at times, you feel a bit like at least they know. Winston Peters has obviously been a minister with National before. They know how the other works. And I think, if nothing else, Bill English will certainly be feeling very happy about this and very willing to give Winston Peters a call.
Do you think they would go in, Katie, with confidence as to see themselves, forget the numbers, forget the percentages, but they would go in thinking of the two of us bidding for support here, we've got the better chance, we've got the better deal, we're going to end up government?
Well, you had Bill English, particularly over the last few days, I've spent a lot of time on this campaign with him, and he has been very sure in the past few days that if National has biggest number of votes, it gives them the right to try and form a government first. And I've got no doubt that he will be thinking that surely he'd be hoping that Winston Peters would say, well, you've got 10 points more or whatever it ends up being. You are the one that is, we're the one that we are the right to stay in government. We should be the ones that you should be talking to first of all.
All right, nice to see you, Katie. I don't know if that makes sense, does it? I mean, if you're Winston Peters, you go with whoever's giving you the
I absolutely agree, but is it time, Michelle, to acknowledge what a great campaign Bill English has run?
Well, I think
at 46, I mean,
it's a personal triumph for him. There's no doubt about that. But I think what we're seeing here is if the Maori Party don't get in, I actually think it's easier for National to do a deal with Winston because Labour and the Greens are not going to get there together. Therefore, they need Winston.
Do you honestly mean that? Because I subscribe to your theory, but you're a National Party person, so you want to say that, don't you? But I mean, it strikes me as eminently sensible that you would do a two-way as opposed to a three-way.
Yes, but not only that, if the Maori Party don't get in, the wasted vote goes up.
Yeah.
But there's another point which Katie alluded to, which I think is it's unlikely, but I wouldn't rule it out. A national Greens deal. The Greens,
Peter, you come in there for
the Greens have never been in government.
Yep.
If English was to go to them and say, look, we can do some stuff around climate. Bear in mind
they did the pink bats, didn't they?
Yeah, the Greens, unlike Labour, voted for the tax cut.
Yep.
I think it's unlikely.
Was that more? That was more a Russell Norman thing, though, wasn't it? I always thought Russell was the kind of sensible guy.
But James Shaw voted for the tax cuts in the May budget.
And Labour didn't.
And Labour didn't.
And Labour have always
set up some things, around climate change policy where you can work on the stuff that Kennedy Graham has been doing over the last year and Paula Bennett's been quite close to.
Fitness on housing.
Yeah, and then start to say,
geez, if this comes to pass, Peter, you're a little short of a genius.
Now, look, I know it's unlikely, but I think Katie's right to raise it as a possibility. Whether the Greens would countenance going there, I don't know.
Mike, I'd have to say that's fanciful. What the Greens will know is that kind of experiment happened in Tasmania, and as soon as it was over, they were slaughtered.
Mind you, what we do know about MMP is anyone who goes into coalition, I think there's a living example. This is, the moment you go into coalition, you're dead, aren't you?
This is actually another fascinating point. If you look at that track that Corin put up before about the top line and the bottom line, after 21 years, we as a country, and the two major parties who've got to take the blame for this, have not yet figured out MMP. We go each election into this contest where we just have to get our share of the vote, and you guys, who we might need to call on for support, you go out there and do what you can.
Well, you've seen that with Jacinta.
We actually need to work more closely to get proper partnerships established.
Thanks, Peter. Time for a break. We will see you back very soon.
Alright then, let's take a look at some of the popular tweets that the different people have been talking about this vote election. So this was a tweet of Bill English, and it says here that Bill English is filling himself for the evening ahead with a favourite dish, and yes, that is tin spaghetti. No, really. Starting off election night with a fine dinner thanks to the staff at the Parliament Hotel. Yes, that's the official Bill English. Another one, Christy Johnson. Food at the Green Party. 7:18 p.m. Looks rather fine and delicious. Bruce Edwards. Few of us thought New Zealand First would get higher votes than the Greens, but they should go higher. It does look like the Greens once again haven't got their supporters out to vote. And he also says finally that the Māori Party is looking like toes, that there will be a big upset of the election. Now let's take a look at what voting there is at the moment. Here are the results. Just over 85% of those 1.2 million advance votes have been counted already. Here's how the results went out. National Party 45.8%, projected seats 57. Labour Party 36.4%, projected seats 45. New Zealand First 7.1%, projected seats 9. Green Party 6.3%, projected seats 8. At 0.5%, projected seats 1. The Opportunities Party on 2%, the Māori Party on 1.1%. So far I haven't crossed the 5% threshold for a seat in the Parliament. AT has a lower percentage of votes so far, expected to win an electoral constancy seat. So that's the latest update 1 minute ago of the percentage on how many votes there are. Now, when Jacinda Ardern was in Wainuiomata, I took a selfie with her, and here I'll show you on my Facebook page. Well, it was a really good experience for me taking a selfie with her, with Jacinda Ardern. Got a few people reacting to it. Oh, look at that. I've already got a comment. Oh, no, it was me. It would be funny to put a Moana chicken in there because I like birds. So anyway, that's me with Jacinda Ardern. And when I was at the rugby club at Wainuiomata. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So I'll leave that up for a while, and let's see what's here. Let's go back live.
Donald Trump is the sort of most extreme version in the world, isn't it, of a reality TV person who's kind of gone to that. So.
And I think he's really grown into himself in the course of this campaign.
We've got to go, Stacey. Yeah. We'll come back to you very shortly. See you soon.
Welcome back to this One News Vote 17 election special. And I tell you what, Simon is standing by with some more results. And again, these are going to be very exciting.
Some really fascinating electorates to have a look at. Let's have a look first at Ohariu, our bow-tied friend over here. We'll be missing this one. Having stood down, Greg O'Connor, the former Police Association president, leads by 537. We're almost half the count over. This is going to be very, very close, and we're going to keep an eye on this one. Greg O'Connor in the polls was going to take this out. If we move to Hutt South, Ginny Anderson leading by 230 over national riser Chris Bishop. This has been, of course, Trevor Mallard's electorate since 1993, but a few boundary changes and the rising profile of Chris Bishop. Big hopes for National and Chris Bishop, but at the moment he is behind still, as we say, only 28% counted. Going to Northland, can Winston Peters hold Northland? We're going to Christchurch Central, apologies. Christchurch Central first, Duncan Webb, again a great hope for Labour, ahead of Nikki Wagner, who had increased her electorate vote over the last two elections, but this time Duncan Webb, high-profile campaigner down there, doing very, very well. Again, only just over a quarter of the votes counted. Now we'll go to Northland. There it is. Winston Peters trailing by 104 votes with 20% counted. This is going down to the wire. National's Matt King up there. We'll go to Auckland Central, of course, because this has been held by Nikki Kaye, having beaten Jacinda Ardern over the last few elections here, and she also has a very, very narrow margin of lead at the moment with 23% counted, just 244 over Helen White. We'll keep another close eye on that one. Of course, the Greens' Denise Roche there as well. And if we go to Tuki Tuki, which has been Craig Foss's, he's stood aside now, and Lawrence Yule, the Mayor of Hastings, leads over Anna Lorck by almost 2,000 votes. This is a smaller margin than previously, 44% counted, but big hopes there, of course, for the National Party as well, still managing to hold on and Tuki Tuki.
Exactly. One of the talking points, of course, is Yule's the local mayor and was in charge of it wasn't necessarily his fault, but the contamination business, and he fronted up each day and there was some sort of argument that maybe he was tainted by that, but it appears not. Let's talk to Greg O'Connor, Ohariu. He leads, he's up, he's looking like he's going to be an MP. Greg, good evening to you.
Yes, good evening, Mike.
You calling yourself a winner yet?
Not at all. As I say, 50%. This was always going to go down to the wire.
So I'll be holding off on my first whiskey for the year until I see we get a lot closer to 90%.
What do you make of the Labor Party number currently at about 36 and 45 seats and a real possibility of government?
Well, yes, it looks like the polls are pretty much right there. So it's the start of the work tonight, isn't it? Not the end of it. So it looks like Mr. Peters is going to be the kingmaker.
Does that fill you with relish and excitement as you enter Parliament?
Well, of course, I'm going to be the new boy on the block here. I'll be starting to learn all these things, but one thing at a time. And let's just focus on getting across the line. The way I look at this, Mike, it's like getting on a plane to London. Someone else is in charge. You just sit back, enjoy the ride, and control what you can control, and worry about what you can worry about, and just try and enjoy yourself.
What have you learned so far? I mean, you know, you came out of the police union, of course, and you've been out there campaigning, and Peter Dunne resigned, and that became a major story. What have you made of your campaign?
Well, I realised I was reasonably siloed before. You get out there and starting getting on those doorsteps and starting to meet people, and you realise there's a whole lot. We get good at what we do in any of these jobs, but once you change, there's a whole new world. And every time you knocked on a door, everyone you spoke to, you learnt a lot. So whatever happens, whether I'm in or out tonight, the brain's a bit bigger. Well, there's certainly a lot more in it than there was at the start of the campaign, and hopefully it'll be useful.
Good on you. Well, good luck tonight, and we might catch up with you later on when you, even when you declare. Peter, just very quickly, no regrets?
None whatsoever. No. In fact, as the campaign has gone on, if you like, my resolve about leaving has intensified. Because I actually found that I was following the campaign like most people were, sitting in my living room watching it. The thought of going to meetings very quickly evaporated as appealing.
Well, fair enough. But it's the end of the party, isn't it, really?
Well, I haven't seen any detailed results.
Well, I can tell you, you're not breaking through 5%.
No, I'm well aware of that. But that's a matter that they'll decide in due course. I've pulled right back.
Yeah.
They'll make that.
So you've made your contribution. You started the party. There were times 2002, the worm. Those were your glory.
Look, I've got no regrets whatsoever. 33 years seems to me to have gone in a flash. I'm aware that I think I'm something like the 12th longest serving MP in New Zealand ever.
Jeez.
So, I can look back with some pride, but no regrets.
Good one.
We're going to Corin now with a few more results.
Yeah, these are the numbers we need to get our heads around here. 57 to national in the House. And remember, we are all in the business of numbers here. Who can get the confidence of the House and go to the Governor-General and convince them that they've got enough to form a government? Let's see how this looks in a Parliament. We'll imagine that if we are effectively the Speaker, if you like, you're getting that view at the moment. And you can see quite clearly that New Zealand First, Greens and Labour, they might be able to do it. You see ACT in there as well. But really, it is absolutely on a knife edge. I want to throw my 10 cents worth in on the Greens that you were talking about before. I think it is highly unlikely that they would offer some sort of support, but I wonder whether an abstention is one potential possibility. I had, to be honest, thought about it myself a little bit as well, if it's one scenario, but I've been down this road with them in 2014. I just don't think they could bring themselves to do it.
All right, good on you, Corin. I mean, Stacey left, she was adamant. Before she left, she was absolutely adamant that Flavell was not going to lose his seat. Matt was equally adamant he was, but it hasn't changed all night. So we'll come back and talk a little bit about the Maori seats, because they remain at this particular point of night. Nothing else really has changed. The Maori seats remain, if that changes in any way, shape or form, that remains crucial, as they say. Brief break and more in just a couple of moments.
Alright then, 6 minutes ago, Jessica Ardern hasn't headed to the Labour election night party yet. She's currently watching results from home, where it's a bit chilly by the look of it. It's frowny face. Jeff Tolan, Jessica Ardern is every Kiwi before they hit the town at night. Picture David White /stuff. And so 1/3 of the results have been counted in the New Zealand election 2017, and still National is in the lead. So this shows that National could be able to win this election if they can get enough votes. As you can see, here's how 11 minutes ago, here's how the results look like. National Party is at 45.8%. Labour is 36.4%. New Zealand First 7.1%. Green Party is 6.3% at 0.5%. At 0.5%. Opportunities Party is on 2%, and Māori Party is on 1.1%. ACT has the lowest percentage of votes so far, but is expected to win an electrical seat. So looks like National is heading for the finish line here. So if you have just joined me, this was a picture of me with Jacinda Ardern when when I saw her at Wainuiomata on Tuesday, and I thought I might like to have a selfie with her, and luckily I did. Yes, I got a whole lot of reactions here, surprises, yeah. Pretty amazing. Let's see if there's any other updates. No. There's no other updates at the moment. So let's continue with the live feed.
At the start, was to be expected because of the exciting news of her becoming the leader. At the end, a lot of the conversation was sort of taken up with things like what was actually happening around tax. I've noticed that National got very sort of involved in social media around that particular issue and topic, so that's what sort of spiked that data towards the end there.
And we also saw, of course, a real change in terms of the issues that people were talking about, and tax ended up right at the centre, didn't it? Whereas earlier in the campaign we were seeing issues like mental health, for example, having more of a lead.
It did, and the kind of logical conclusion that people needed to draw from that was that, we did want to see all this change happen, but of course we're going to have to pay for it, and I think that was a very tactical move on National's behalf to kind of really go for it towards those last couple of weeks.
And particularly with the campaign that they ran, the ad campaign around tax, that had an impact on the sentiment as well.
Exactly, we saw that both parties actually took a dive around that time.
And do you think that part of that dive was also as people were starting to think about who they were going to vote for, and getting into arguments and things?
A little bit more constructive kind of conversation, perhaps, but looking at things a little bit more closely and sort of pulling out a bit more of the negative stuff on it. So I think there was definitely that kind of bantering back and forth.
One of the most interesting results actually that we're keeping an eye on is Auckland Central. Still quite close between Nikki Kaye and Helen White. We would have expected maybe a larger margin given that that was Jacinda's seat and Helen White is a newcomer. Back to Mike and Hilary for now.
Welcome back to this One News Vote 17 election night special. We're going to Yvonne Tahana, who is in Rotorua at the Waititi Marae, where Māori Party co-leader Te Ororoa Flavel trails Labour's Tamati Coffee by 400 votes at this point.
Well, kia ora, Hilary. Kia ora, Hilary. Well, as you can hear, there's a bit of Stevie Wonder going at the moment. You missed a really good Prince Tui Teka before. For the life of me, people have been warned that if they can't sing, they're not allowed to get up. Basically, it's to pick people's spirits up. The mood is a little bit, it's not flat, but it is just to pick up people's spirits, because as one lady told me, it's easier to wash the dishes at the back rather than watch the results roll in.
Gee, it doesn't seem flat at all. It seems like they're having a bit of a party there.
And I got to say that sing-along's a great deal more enticing than Winston Peters' piano accordion earlier on in the night. Stacey, I'm glad you're back, because Matt, before he left, absolutely adamant that Flavel's going to lose. You're absolutely still adamant that he is not?
He is not. So that is the stronghold of Rotorua, and this Waiariki electorate is huge. All of the Māori seats cover such a huge geographical area that it's actually very hard for all of them. So you could say that perhaps the votes that are being looked at so far are from outside of Rotorua, but I would say that in terms of in Rotorua, the stronghold of Te Ororoa Flavel.
So those are the votes that are going to come in the later part of the night, because the gap has been 400-500 all night long. It really hasn't changed, and he's behind the whole night. So you'll say late in the piece, votes for him are coming in, and that's what's going to tip him over the edge.
We're still only up to 20%.
Tamati stood in Rotorua last time.
So he would have so he would have very high awareness there. That's probably enhanced his vote.
And it is a big jump, and he's grown a lot through this campaign. He's definitely benefited from the Jacinda boost, and I think all of the Labour MPs would say that in terms of the Māori camp. So it is a tight race, and tighter than expected. We'll definitely give you that, but it would be a shock if...
Would you argue the same for Howie Tamati or not?
In terms of how confident I am?
Yeah, he's been behind about the same 400 or 500 all night. Does that same map?
Well, we talked about New Plymouth being his stronghold. Yeah. It is a tight one. I guess I think that New Plymouth will push him through. That's what it's been looking like. But Adrian Rurafe does have a great line. He says, I always lose the poll and win the seat.
So you're calling 1 or 2 Māori seats?
Yes.
So you say 2 tonight?
2, I think. And the thing about that is if there is a coalition, then the Māori Party actually should be considered in terms of a Labour coalition, because it is an opportunity. They can do that. And then if the National Party has invited the Māori Party into a coalition, and if Labour doesn't do that, it's not a great precedent.
Okay, but if 45 for Labour and 8 for the Greens and 2 for the Māori Party, that's still only 55. They don't get across. They need Peters. That's a four-way, and that's just a massive cluster, isn't it?
Yes, it is. But then if you look at New Zealand First going in with National, and they've said that the bottom line is that they will look at Māori seats, and the Māori Party is not at the table, then we are looking, New Zealand, like we could lose Māori seats.
Well, that's a referendum.
Well, that's what Mike said.
It's a referendum, isn't it? I mean, the Winston Peters thing is a referendum, and the question would be, would New Zealand vote to abolish the seats, or not?
It's something I'd really not like to see. You would have all sorts of nasty opinions coming out there. But I'm quite saddened by this, because I actually think the Māori Party is out of Parliament. I can't see either of those 2 candidates in Te Tahawaru or Wairiki overcoming the deficit at the moment.
Okay, and of course, once you've left Parliament, you don't come back, do you? Because of what projected them into Parliament?
Well, Winston managed it.
Yeah, but he's
Look at Dr. Lance O'Sullivan saying that he'll stand. And
it's the culture that's
like a referendum on Māori seats to actually...
You okay?
Galvanise.
Yes, I'm okay.
Sorry, just hold that thought, because Corin's over there. He's so edgy tonight, Corin. So we need
Sorry, that's my dad.
This, augmented reality to flick in front of us and give us the numbers and impress us and blow us away.
Well, you're talking Māori seats, so let's have a closer look at them and see how we're going. And you can see there is Tamati Coffey, and his lead is 432 over Te Ururoa Flavel. And I think what's important too, let's say Te Ururoa Flavel was to get up there. Their party vote is what, about 1.1%. They need to get to 1.2 to bring in that second MP. So they're not that far away off that one. Let's have a look at the other crucial Māori seat that you have been talking about, Te Tai Hauru, and you can see Adrian Rurafe there with that lead of 578, as Mike Williams says. That's going to be looking pretty hard for Howie Tamati, former League star, of course, to get across the line there. What's interesting, though, is even if the Māori Party get those 2 seats somehow, you throw in ACT, you're still for National. If they were to go with National, they still can't get that, still need Winston Peters. On the issue of the referendum, we did a poll on that. 55% of New Zealanders wanted to keep the Māori seats, and surely, in terms of the bottom lines, that's one that Winston will let go, won't it?
Okay, we'll talk about this more shortly, but first we're going to go to Andrea Vance at Labour Party Central at the Aotea Centre in downtown Auckland. What's the mood like there at the moment? Is it pretty subdued?
Oh, Hillary, it's a wee bit tense here, I have to say. I know Mike is really worried about this, so the queues at the bar are quite long now. They're not popping the champagne corks, unfortunately. They're more like nursing the red wine.
So, Andrea, who's down there at the moment? We know Jacinda Ardern is going to probably take her time. Who else is there?
Well, I'm not sure if you've seen the photos coming in of Jacinda at home. She's in a red robe and her very glorious slipper boots, so she's some way off the party front. So we're waiting here. We've had a few of the Auckland MPs have turned up. Helen White got a great reception. This is obviously her electorate, and she got she's very close race with Nikki Kay. So she got a great round of applause when she arrived. Phil Twyford is here, but we're still waiting for some of those Auckland MPs to come in. They're out in their electorates at their own parties.
All right. Let me just, Nikki Kay's leading by about 500 in Auckland Central, so she may well hold on to that. As far as, what's the plan? As far as Jacinda's concerned, and for that matter, not that you can answer it, Bill English, but when do these people turn up, given that we sort of know what's happening?
Well, I think we're still some way off seeing Jacinda. It's still early days. Yeah, there's still a lot of votes still to be counted. But she did say that as soon as it became clear that she would arrive, we were expecting around 9 o'clock, but it looks like it's going to be later than that.
All right, well, we'll stay in touch. I don't know, what do you do, Michelle? I mean, you're sitting at home, you got the numbers. I'd be tempted to ring Winston tonight, and just say, look,
I mean, the numbers haven't changed.
No, I think there'll be a lot of phone calling going on tomorrow. But this Māori Party thing is quite interesting because if they don't make it, the wasted vote goes up. And if you have a wasted vote of 4%,
which is 2% from the Opportunities Party.
Yes, and the rest all sort of put together, and National gets 56% of that. Well, that's 2.24%.
Okay. See, National just gone up to 58 seats, you see? So suddenly they're only 3 short. So 2 Maori, 1 Act, bang, there's your 4th term. That's how critical the Maori seats are. Right. So if Stacey's right, you've talked them into a 4th term.
No pressure at all.
The other big challenge, really, I think, for Labor at the moment, looking at the overall picture, is that the Greens are doing okay. They're sort of sitting around 7%.
They should be grateful.
That's right. And at about the same level as New Zealand First. Now, if those two are about roughly the same size, roughly the same number of MPs, there is no way in hell I can actually see that working as
I agree.
Sort of, coalition.
All right, we'll come back to that. There's lots of machinations. That's the fascinating thing about tonight, isn't there? There's machinations up the wazoo. So we'll need to take a brief break and come back with more of our election special in just a moment.
Okay, so we've got some brand new updates. Although National is bidding for a 4th Conservative team in government, it will be a first victory for Bill English, who stepped off as Prime Minister when John Key resigned unexpectedly in December 2016. Man, John Key was a great president. Oh, sorry, Prime Minister. Oh, man. It is not English's first election campaign as leader, although in 2002 he led National to its worst ever result, losing 12 seats as Labour's Helen Clark won re-election. Another one, 3 minutes ago. Eleanor Angie Roy reports from Auckland. The urban-rural divide has become a key flashpoint of this election, with Labour polling strongly with the urban vote, and National dominating the rural vote. Bill English is a former farmer and well liked by the agricultural sector, which feels he has their back. Andrian was accused of inflaming the divide recently when she committed to introducing a water tax, which farmers argued would cripple their business and cause the price of milk, vegetables and meat to rise across the country. Last week, some farmers attended a rally against Labour's water tax in Andrea's hometown of Maunceville. The rally was memorable for a plethora of sexist signs, including the now infamous "She's pretty" communist. So yeah, those are the latest reports. And as you heard earlier, that Jacinda Ardern has been watching the Labour election results in a red robes, and this was the photo here taken by David White from Stuff and reposted by Jeff Tolan. It says that Jessica Ardern is every Kiwi before they hit the town at night. So these are the results 25 minutes ago. And we're already 1/3 of the way there. So it's pretty exciting that National is still in the lead of Labour, and it looks like that Labour is gonna go for National is gonna go for the finish line if they win this. Now, if you just joined me, I've got a photo to show you over here from Facebook that I took with Jacinda Ardern and Wainuiomata. Now, Jacinda Ardern was visiting Wainuiomata, hosting a talk for us at the rugby club in Wainuiomata, so I went to go see her, and luckily I took a selfie with her, and this is what I took. Hold on. There we go. So this was the picture I took of me with her. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I was a bit lucky to see Jacinda Ardern and took a selfie with her. Wow. Alright then, let's go back and see if there's any brand new updates. New updates? No, there's no updates. So let's return back to the Vote 17 live feed, and let's see what's going to happen.
Welcome back. Just before we go to ACT headquarters, let me, one of the stories that was breaking a couple of days ago, the Green Party tried to run some sort of push polling suggesting that Nick Smith was going to get rolled in Nelson. Turns out to be bollocks. So he's safe as houses. Having said that, the combination vote between Labour and the Greens in Nelson, if they'd done some sort of deal, they could have rolled him, but he's up by about 3,000 votes in Nelson, so that one has been put to bed for the night. Let us go to, and it looks like Seymour and Epsom's safe as houses, but the vote has not come in for ACT all that well at headquarters. Peter Williams.
Yes, Mike, at the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron, home of the America's Cup, which is upstairs, so in many respects it's a building of winners. But I'm afraid that Richard Prebble, former ACT leader, former ACT MP, you don't look like you're going to be having too many winners tonight, apart from David Seymour.
Well, when you say apart from David Seymour, we're pretty happy. He's had a very good win. So the ACT Party's still there, which is more than we can say for the Maori Party. It's been the kiss of death under MMP for any third party to be in coalition, and David Seymour seems to have avoided that fate. And it's also too early in the night to write off the ACT Party. Last election, I'm told, by people who add these things, the ACT Party started lower than we are now and rose all during the night, and that's because there's a few electorates which have a very strong ACT vote, and until they come in, we don't know where we are.
Yeah, but the reality is that the slide or the direction for ACT since the halcyon days of 2008, when you had 5 MPs in the House, has been down. I mean, you had 3.65%, I think, then it was 1%, 0.7. You're at 0.5 at the moment. You're hoping for a big burst from this advanced voting bubble.
I'm always hoping for a big burst, but the thing in politics, as the Maori Party is going to find, is whether you're in Parliament or you're not, and the ACT Party's in Parliament. I'm very pleased to see that the centre-right looks like it's going to form the next government. It would be an outrage if they didn't. It's very unlikely that ACT will be part of that government because we don't get on with Winston Peters. If David Seymour's on the crossbench, things are looking really good for the party, and I'm predicting 9 MPs.
In 2020, yeah. So are you suggesting to David Seymour that he not be part of the next government?
Oh, my advice always to him is to be on the crossbench. That being in government is a kiss of death for third parties. I respect his decision, and he can point to some major achievements like chartered schools, and to me that justifies voting ACT.
All right, Richard Prebble, thank you for your time tonight. Enjoy the party. I know you've come up from down in your current base these days near Lake Tarawera, is it? And,
no, Lake Rotomar.
Oh, not far away. But anyway, enjoy the night, and we'll see what happens as more numbers come in for ACT.
We will. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Richard Prebble, there, former ACT leader and ACT MP.
Indeed. Having said that, I think Seymour said in the campaign he was not going to work officially with New Zealand First in that sense. We should at some point in the evening actually work through Winston's so-called bottom lines and see how it lines up, because I mean he's at odds with Labour and he's at odds with National, and whether you can trust the guy to come through is a whole conversation that we've yet to have. But Simon is standing by at the wall. Let's have a look at Simon and Epsom.
Thank you very much, Mike. Yes, Epsom. Richard Prebble's glass is certainly half full, but the reality is, of course, that David Seymour is ahead by 1,238. The voters of Epsom are well schooled and well practised in this arrangement. Moving right along to Northland, though, let's have a look at how Winston Peters is doing now. He's 145 behind Matt King. This one is going to go down to the wire. We've got 26% count. It's still a lot of room to come here yet. In Hutt South, though, Trevor Mallard's old electorate, Ginny Anderson back on top over Chris Bishop. These keep changing. This is going to be a real one that goes all the way down, so we'll watch this one very, very carefully. And if we go to Nelson, of course, or the electorate that Mike has now dubbed bollocks, Yes, we have a national lead there. Nick Smith up by almost 3,000 votes, and that is not the close contest that was predicted by many for the Greens for Matt Laurie. So, Christchurch Central is the other one that's very, very close earlier, but Duncan Webb seems to be stretching the lead over Nikki Wagner. Nikki Wagner's fortunes there not looking good. Okay.
Thank you so much, Simon. Right, Jack Tamer's standing by with Jeanette Fitzsimons at the Green Party headquarters.
That is right, Hillary. Still a sense of cautious optimism here. The Greens hovering above that 6% mark, which is good for the 5% threshold at the moment. But Jeanette Fitzsimons, is this a disappointing result from a Greens perspective, given where the party was polling 2 months ago?
Well, of course, it's not where we were 2 months ago, but we've seen the polls since then, and I think there's a great sense of optimism and positivity here tonight in Auckland. It shows that even when the worst happens, we're still well above 5%, so that threshold is gone for us.
Are the Greens staring down another 3 years in opposition?
I think it's too soon to tell that. There's still half the votes to be counted, and the specials usually make a big difference for the Greens. We always go up on the specials, so we'll have to wait and see.
From your experience, do you think Winston Peters would entertain the idea of a three-party coalition?
Look, I'm not going to mind read Winston. I don't know anyone that can. We're open to it. He hasn't ruled it out. But look, the big success for the Greens at this election was we set the agenda for what should be talked about, and other people talked about it. You know, everyone is talking about swimmable rivers and clean water. The Greens have been talking about that for more than 10 years, and we've now forced it onto the public agenda, and everybody who didn't care tuppence last year has to have policy on swimmable rivers. It's the same with child poverty. We've been struggling to get that on the agenda, and now everyone's talking about that, and even climate change.
From a strategic perspective, how much has the Metiria Ture situation impacted the Green vote?
Well, what Metiria did took us up to 15%, frightened Labour to the point where they had a change of leader, which led to the whole Jacinda Mania affair, so you could say we were responsible for that. Then some pretty nasty stuff happened, and I'm not going to go into that now. So it's been all over the place, but what Metiria has done, I think, is cement in the public mind that beneficiaries and people bringing up children as solo parents on a benefit are really, really struggling, and they need more help, and nobody can undo that recognition once people have had it.
Thank you very much. Ngā mihi, Jeanette. We really appreciate it. There's Jeanette Fitzsimons, former Greens leader. We are expecting James Shaw to appear here in the next half an hour or so, maybe a little longer than that, depending how long the results take to come in.
Okay, great. We'll go back to you then. Jahan Kasnada is in the newsroom to see what's been happening on social media, which is, of course, very, very important on election night.
That's so important. We go on and on and on about how important social media is. We've been talking about it the whole campaign. And if you've been wondering where we've been for the past 2 hours, we've actually been doing crosses into our One News Now Facebook stream and our website. So if you want to join the conversation, then jump online during the ad breaks and you'll get us and our guests instead. Social media is reacting. The biggest talking point this hour is the reduction of the number of parties in Parliament down to just 5, consolidation of the vote on both the left and right. Let's have a look at some of the reaction. Nick Kearney says story of this election is the utter failure of MMP. In 1993, there were 4 parties in Parliament. 25 years later, we have just 5. Now, of course, we're talking about the loss of United Future on the numbers that we're seeing, the loss of the Māori Party as well, with all 7 Māori seats going to Labour at this stage. United Future, and of course, no top either. Gareth Morgan not getting across the line there. Let's have a look at what Damien Light, the president turned leader of United Future, has to say on Twitter. This just in, still vote to be counted, but concerned that it looks like the MMP parties are suffering. Not good for democracy, New Zealand or diversity. But Jess, there is a slightly lighter note, and that is the fact that the second biggest hashtag
of the night
is dogs at polling stations.
Dogs at polling stations, followed closely by cats not at polling stations.
Cats not at polling stations. So actually, Metiria Ture, who we've been wondering where is Metiria Ture tonight, what does she have to say? She's got this tweet of a beautiful looking dog at her polling station. There's another one with a sticker, and there's another. Oh, they're not that attractive, are they? But that's all right. So there's a bit of
trivia for you, but join us on onenewsnow.co.nz for much more informed, insightful analysis.
It's amazing trivia on social media, isn't it?
They look adorable.
Having said that, you cannot blame MMP because what we've seen is democracy, and if you don't want to vote for a small party and you don't vote for many parties, it is what it is. They can't blame the system, for God's sake. Everyone got exactly the same number of votes.
We've got some more numbers.
Yes,
We've got some more numbers to look at with Corin and Simon.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. We want to run an overview with more than 50% of the vote counted. That means that 40% of the advance votes, they are all in now. We're in fresh counting. And with the numbers as they stand, National would have 59 seats in the House. Labor 44. But, of course, the computer modelling and the predictions actually change that. They take a couple away from National, don't they? And redistribute them too.
Our predictions, with a bit of the wasted votes included, is that the National Party would fall back a little bit to about 56 seats in the House, so 45%, and Labor would be a little bit stronger, in fact, at 37% with 46.
But as they currently stand, you can see the House directly split, with National almost with that one seat of ACT holding half the House, but not the magic extra seat needed for a majority.
So we're going to be talking Winston Peters and bottom lines. Mike, I can give you a couple of
start.
So the Reserve Bank Act, that's going to get torn up.
That's not the end of the world I can live with. The stuff that they really struggle with, Peters is anti-capital gains tax, so he's got problems with Labor on that. What else?
Immigration.
Yeah, immigration's a big one. So he's got National on that.
Superannuation, he will not allow the super age to go up to 67. So you can expect those to be pretty high on his priority, I would imagine.
Michelle, what else would he want out of the Nats? Winston Peters.
Well, Prime Minister for a starter. Try that one on.
I don't think that's going to happen. It's interesting because we've been speculating about what the shape of influence might be. And I think the Nats would be pretty comfortable if New Zealand First had 4 cabinet ministers. Maybe Winston, Ron Mark, Tracy Martin and Shane Jones. You know, they can all be fitted into positions that would be very comfortable. The big question is how far away are the Nats going to be after the specials? How many do they need? And whether Winston does his, I'm going to keep them honest and sit outside and just do confidence.
See, here's the thing, and I mean, this is, I mean, they may well be right, I don't know, but National right now is sitting at 59 seats. Add one from Act 60, they are 1 seat short. Why wouldn't you just go, we're going to go minority and we'll come and talk to you? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but it really depends on what National wants to do in the next 3 years. So I think there's been a realisation through the campaign that the next 3 years shouldn't be just what they've done in the past.
We need to go to Gareth Morgan headquarters. I think I don't know what he's going to say. It's not been as good as I thought, but anyway, here he is.
The leader, Gareth Morgan.
Thanks, team, and I hope you're all enjoying the gig anyway. Hey, firstly, the good news. You know, we've only been going 10 months, guys, and we have got a quarter of Labor's membership already. We've got a massive team of volunteers, some brilliant candidates, and you know the most important thing to me? We have awakened the young people. And by the way, most of their votes haven't come in yet. They're specials because they're all at the unis and everything outside of their electorate. So I'm ever hopeful. You know, you've got to be hopeful. This party was built on best practice, peer-reviewed, evidence-based policy, without any political filter, no sector interest in it at all. What we're trying to do here is promote New Zealanders' well-being, whether it's economic, whether it's environmental, or whether it's social. And in doing so, the policy set is very challenging. I'm well aware of that. And it rubs the top off a few sores, or, you know, destroys a few sacred cows. Think of it that way. The biggest target we've got here is to try and make the tax system fair and to stop PAYE earners having to pay so much of this tax bill, because property guys pay nothing. And you know, when I say peer review, this is not my idea, right? This actually came from the previous 2 tax working groups, that we have got a whole chunk effectively of income out there that is not being taxed. And so many of us are investing our savings in that asset that is delivering income that is not being taxed. Now, the problem here is, when I talk to my generation about we have to shut this, and we have to, you know, give tax cuts for the income, for the people on the PAYE, they go...
It's going to step in there and suggest that Gareth should stop campaigning and have a couple of drinks and we weigh. The reality is he's not going to be back, is he? I mean, his comments to you earlier on tonight, he indicated he's out, and if he's out, that's the end of the party. Andrea Vance is at Labour Party Central at the Aotea Centre, downtown Auckland. Andrea? Andrea, are you there? Nothing worse than a build-up, and it's full of... I want to come back to you, Michelle, because this is what's interesting. Sorry, I scared you there. At 58, 59 seats, and what's wrong with the idea of going with that close? We're a 2-seat short. We're just going to run it as a minority, and we'll touch base with the Greens periodically, might touch base with New Zealand First periodically, maybe even with the Labour Party periodically. Why wouldn't that work?
It is a lot of work, right, when you've got a deal in the bag. But having said that, you know, we saw National Party policies frustrated in the last term because RMA, Peter Dunn, wouldn't play ball. And that actually has had a significant impact on things like housing issues. So I think it's a lot of work, but what I was saying before was, I don't think it's going to be good enough for the National Party to just carry on business as usual.
So they need a deal. All right.
No, but it's not.
This would be low maintenance.
Joseph, hold that thought.
We've got Andrea Vance, and she's with Kelvin Davis.
That's right. Kelvin, we're halfway there, half the votes counted. That vote is not shifting. Is it still going to be business as usual on Monday?
Well, no, it won't be, because we're going to have probably 12 or 13 new MPs, and we're really looking forward to, doing a lot of work with those guys. It's going to be very exciting for us.
And have you spoken to Jacinda tonight? How's she feeling?
Look, I haven't spoken to her yet, and we expect her here very shortly, I guess. But no, I haven't yet spoken to her.
Now, the Labour Party's ahead in every Māori seat at the moment. You guys took a big gamble in coming off the list. That's paid off, clearly?
Well, we backed ourselves, and of course then I had to go back on the list being the deputy leader, but no, we backed ourselves, and we've got a very strong Māori caucus, and it's going to get even bigger. We expect to have maybe 12 Māori MPs in our caucus in a few hours' time, so it's going to be very exciting for the Labour Party.
Is it game over for the Māori Party?
Well, at this stage it's looking positive for the Labour Party, and that's our what we're really looking forward to, having a strong Māori Labour caucus.
Why do you think that is? What did Labour do to storm ahead in those Māori seats?
Well, the people our message is resounding. You know, we want to improve housing, the homelessness. We want education, better health, better environment, and those are issues that Māori are really suffering from and feel very strongly about. So, you know, Māori are returning back to Labour because we're talking about the issues that really matter to them.
Oh, we lost them again.
There we go. We'll come back. We'll take a brief break and come back in just a couple of moments as Election Night 2017 continues to...
Okay, we've got some news stories just came in. 16 minutes ago, Bill English is still in his hotel room and has not joined the National Election Night Party. But my colleague Kate Shuttleworth reports from the Sky City Convention Centre that the mood is upbeat. People are spilling in wearing blue badges and excited about how the results are going so far. And so far already 50% of the votes have been counted, but National is still leading. With half the votes counted, National is taking the lead of more than 10 points over Labour. With a projected 59 seats, it's still not a majority, but with 61 needed, it's pretty close. that projected ACT seat is almost certainly in the bag to support the government continuing an existing argument, but Bill English might still need the backing of Winston Peters, New Zealand First, to get his government going. On this projection, Labour and Greens combined still fall far short with 51 seats or a majority. Clary Phipps said half of votes counted in New Zealand election and Nationals steaming ahead of Jacinda Ardern's Labour. Gareth Morgan, founder of the Top, is speaking to supporters, with the party currently sitting on 2.1%, as you just saw before on the live stream. It is not expected to take a seat in the new parliament. He says he's been fighting to make New Zealand a fairer society, but many voters are reluctant to address issues that could help the crisis in housing affordability. You need to be really proud, he tells supporters, saying they have put their own vested interests aside to try to help battle inequity. And he says the Green Party, traditionally backers of Labour administrators, should work with a government of any hue to push an environmental agenda. He says, I know it's earlier days yet, but I know that the Green Party is above 5%, so we're going to lay down the challenge to the Green Party to say to National that we will work with you on the government. Are you actually Green? You're only Green part-time, and that's not good enough for New Zealand. Right then, before they were talking about dog picks at polling booths, so I'm going to show you a couple of photos on my phone from Google. That's about as far as I can go. So, here we go. Here's one of them. So that the image is mirrored. Here's another one. And we have this one too. It's been trending all over Twitter, and heaps of people have already been posting pictures of their dogs at polling booths. So yeah, that trend is a bit funny for me. So anyway, let's go back to the vote stream and let's see how it's going to go.
Back to our main coverage now. We'll see you very shortly.
Welcome back. Let's go to ACT headquarters where David Seymour has just arrived and started speaking.
PTA to teach them civics. Well, Brooke Van Velden has given up 7 weeks and campaigned full-time without pay. And I just think what you've done, Brooke, has been outstanding, and you've shown enormous talent and dedication, and you're going to go a huge way in politics if you continue to pursue that route. So thank you, Brooke. Stephen Berry, mate, you've been an absolute phenomenon, the way you've organised our campaign on the shore, given up 5 weeks, again, without pay, come and campaign for the values of ACT. I want to thank you, Stephen, from the bottom of my heart. You've been an absolute sensation. Thank you, mate. I want to thank the ACT Party Board of Governors who have held together an ACT Party that has been absolutely united and disciplined over the past 3 years and throughout this campaign. Thank you for your governance of the party. To my Epsom committee, who have been absolutely flawless
and running our campaign.
Because most of those names you've never heard of before, but the important thing of the night is that David Seymour's won Epsom. They do the deal. He's at this stage, he's only a couple of thousand ahead. I think he ended the night with a majority of about 4,000, so there's still some numbers to come, but he's been squeezed a bit. Still a very big vote for Paul Goldsmith, for God's sake. I mean, you think
and that's the story, is that when ACT went in and did this deal, they had 5 MPs that meant something. What we've got now is this kind of continuing, it goes on and on. The National Party voter is getting sick of it. And I don't say that in the past.
So you say the Goldsmith vote is yeah, fair enough too.
And everyone's going to say, we are sick of this. And I think when the Nats, and halfway through, have got 5,000 votes for the National Party candidate when they were told to vote for ACT, and ACT's only got 7. It's only a matter of time. I think next time, if he is going to sit outside of the government,
which he will, so if he's going with New Zealand First, he'll be outside of government.
For Paul Goldsmith, as someone suggested.
Indeed. That's what the Labour Party do in Epsom.
Well, actually, the Labour Party vote, his party vote is 3,800, and David Parker got 3,000. So it's not as big as you think. The National Party vote is huge. The party vote, and they're voting for Goldsmith. They're sick of it.
Yeah, they're not. They're voting for
That's what they did with Dunn. The National Party voters were getting sick of being taken for granted. It's 1 MP. No, those days I'm
3 years to wait, Matt, until that shows any sign.
There's a bit much chocolate in here. We're going to get it. Well, if I don't have any, for God's sake.
Corin is waiting, dying to give us some more results. Over to you, Corin.
Yeah, this is just an indication of just how tight this is. Look at this scenario at the moment with National and the ACT Party. They get the 60 and it's 60-60, deadlocked. You need to get to that 61, of course, but let's roll that over and see what happens if you throw in New Zealand First into the mix, and if we add them to National, well, they're comfortably across the line. You could safely say ACT would probably drop off. I don't think Winston would want ACT anywhere near it. But let's look at the other scenario that is in play as well, and we'll just roll that one back too and see how the centre-left looks. And you can see, well, they're struggling on this number. That is quite interesting, although I would say our prediction puts them a little bit higher, but with Labour dropping back to 44, we've got a pretty interesting situation there where it's deadlocked, so, yeah.
Winston Peters in the box seat, and Jessica Much is at New Zealand First headquarters at the Duke of Marlborough in Russell. Has Winston got a big smile on his face?
Let me check, one moment. I will just glance over. Yes, he does have a smile. He is lurking around the crowd, having his photo taken, chatting to supporters. So, no, he's happy as a clam among party supporters here. But not quite happy as a clam when it comes to the Northland seat, because we have got the numbers in, and he is now 196 votes behind Matt King, who is, of course, the national candidate. But he's not relying on Northland, of course, because at the moment he's just over 7%. That'll give him 9 seats in Parliament on these current numbers. So, although a Northland would be a nice to have, it's not essential for him.
But will he be miffed with the National Party that they've campaigned so hard against him in Northland? I mean, does that make it awkward to have conversations afterwards, or does it just not matter?
Yeah, I think so. But what you've got to remember is last time he won Northland, it was a by-election. For a lot of people, it was a protest vote. He got a strong majority, and that's just not the case here. On another note, in Whangarei, Shane Jones was standing there, and he, of course, was a big hope for them too. Unfortunately, at the moment, though, he's coming third, so perhaps not much of a glimmer of a chance with that electorate seat either for poor old New Zealand First.
No.
But still pretty happy here. Still lots of drinks flowing. So they're pretty happy, I guess, with those 9 MPs.
Okay, thanks for that, Jess. We're going to go to Simon now with some more numbers.
Thanks, Hillary. Yeah, we'll bring you right up to date with Northland, in fact, even past what Jess said, 37% counted. The lead for Matt King now, 230 votes, edging slightly away from Winston Peters. The game is still on here, no doubt about it. But look at National's party vote, 64.8. New Zealand First still on 3.5. That hasn't changed at all. We'll keep an eye on that one, as we will with Waiata Iki. How is Te Reo Flavel doing now? That lead to Tamati Coffee is starting to extend a bit further, and we are at 56% of the vote counted. Not looking good for the Māori Party there. What about Te Tai Tokerau? Because Hone Harawira did a deal. The Mana Party and the Māori Party agreed not to compete against each other so they wouldn't split the vote against Labour. But Labour is winning this, and Labour is winning that battle overall as well. You have to say now that Kelvin Davis is pretty safe with 60% counted. Let's go to Tuki Tuki as well. Lawrence Yule, now leading by 2,800 votes over Anna Lorck. That was a 6,500 majority for Craig Foss in the last election, but Lawrence Yuill, Mayor of Hastings, has managed to hold on. I think you've got him, Mike, have you?
Yes, indeed. Let's bring in Lawrence Yuill, who looks like he will be a new MP. Lawrence, evening to you.
Good evening.
Congratulations, you're calling it yet. You a winner?
Good evening. We will be calling it soon. I think that the numbers are increasing as they come in, but we'll probably wait for another half an hour or so, but it's looking very promising at the stage.
You've been confident through the whole campaign, given all that's happened in these past couple of months with the water and so on?
Well, the polling that we've done, and I congratulate the pollsters on this, have actually been pretty accurate in terms of the announcement and the decisions tonight. So with that polling, I have been confident. I've had a wonderful team and we've run a really hard campaign.
Indeed. Are you aspirational for high political office, Lawrence?
Well, at number 67 on the list, I have very little say. So I'm just starting off as a third former in a new school, and I'll have to work my way up over time if I'm good enough.
What are you making of the numbers? So currently 58 or 47% to 36. Well, how do you think the ensuing days are going to unfold?
Well, I'm actually thrilled that the National Party vote has done as well as it has. You know, going into a fourth term, that's significant, and it's held up well here in Tukituki. So, though, you know, the coalition arrangements are for leaders to decide. But you know, I mean, our team has done well here. I've had tremendous support on the ground, and the feeling for National in Hawke's Bay has been fantastic.
Good on you. Well, congratulations if it comes to pass. Appreciate your time very much, Michelle. They love it in there. There he is. Michelle, a very good point you were making before, and the polls are right, weren't they? Yep. Fundamentally, the polls are spot on. Yep. 47-36. That's the feel we got. These they all came together in about the last week. The minor parties were there or thereabouts. 7-6 there. I mean, it's about as good as you can get.
Absolutely, and I think the pollsters will be very relieved because they always, you know, have this. Well, did we do a good job or not? But it's interesting. I can recall last time it was actually similar, and everyone was saying, no, you can't believe the polls. And of course, people say, oh, well, what about Trump? The fact is that the polls in the US predicted the popular vote.
Exactly.
It was the Electoral College that,
That's exactly right.
that mucked it up.
Let's take a brief break. Apparently, Winston Peters is going to speak very shortly at the Duke of Marlborough, and we want to hear that, so we'll do that after the break.
You're currently watching some updates and results from the elections of New Zealand with me, Michael Kelly. Now, we just got more updates here. It looks as if David Seymour has indeed retained his electorate constituency seat of Epsom, guaranteed the right-wing Libertarian ACT a seat in the new parliament. Overall, ACT is scraping only 0.5% of the party vote. However, Seymour is an effective +1 to National's total, putting Bill English a step closer to victory. It's getting pretty close because we're already halfway there. Eleanor Angie Roy reports from Labour's election night party. Deputy Leader Kelvin Davis has just arrived at Labour HQ to a huge cheer from the crowd. A welcome injection of spirit with Jacinda Ardern expected to arrive soon. With a projected 59 seats, National are just 2 seats away from being able to form a majority government without a coalition. It is a staggering fall for Labour, which in the wake of Ardern's appointment shot up in the polls to lead National by 10 points. The current numbers are showing no possible way for Labour to form a government, currently predicted 44 seats, even with the support of New Zealand First on 9 and the Greens 7. This would only take them to 60. Andrew Critton, Labour's campaign manager, said there were no regrets on his part and over the policy of introducing a water tax. Critton said Labour ran the best campaign possible in the 7 weeks since changing leaders and increasing party polling from the low 20s to the mid to high 30s was remarkable. Commentators are not rolling out a Labour government if New Zealand First chooses to throw its support behind Labour, but the mood is growing increasingly subdued at Labour HQ. People have slumped back in their seats and are scrolling their phones for results as well as watching the TV coverage on three huge screens. Labour Deputy Leader Kelvin Davis arrives at their election party in Auckland. Photograph Hannah Peters, Getty Images. So, yeah, those are the updates we've got so far, and many more will pop up over here as they come. So for now, let's go back to the One News Vote 17 live stream.
Has cut the Greens lunch on a number of these key policies, climate change being one of them.
Yeah.
Hasn't really hurt the Greens perhaps as much as it could have.
No, well, yes and no. I mean, this campaign's still been a failure for the Greens. They're sitting around about 6%. Maybe they'll get a bit more through the specials.
15 was always a pipe dream, right?
Well, yeah, but 10% shouldn't have been, you know, and that's where they were.
Which is their natural home.
That should be their natural home. So the fact they're just scraping into Parliament means hasn't been a good campaign. And I think part of the problem has been, ironically, is that the issues at a core of them have become mainstream now. So both Labour and National, you know, believe in climate change, have credible policies in place. So therefore, actually, if you're a voter that are concerned about those issues, you might not feel the need to vote for the Greens, because, you know, if you vote for a Labour government or if you vote for a national government, they'll still be forefront.
But of course there is also a chance of reinvigoration. We're seeing Chloe Swarbrick expected to come in on those numbers. We'll be back shortly.
Welcome back. Well, we're heading down to Nelson, where Nick Smith is standing by, and one very relieved man right now, I would say.
Oh, look, I've been around the electoral paddock quite a few times, and it's a fantastic result to be able to have Bill English secure a fourth term, and for us to be able to again win the Nelson seat. It's fantastic news, and I've got a pretty excited crew here in Nelson.
Wow, so you're declaring it. We got a national government.
My view is that National's in a very, very strong position. Obviously, there will be comments to come through, but at 46%, it's very strong.
Hey, and you have done very nicely, thanks. 4,000 votes ahead of your nearest rival, which is Labour. And, of course, the Greens were talking up a very big game in Nelson, but in the end faded.
Oh, the Greens have well and truly over-talked their game. Actually, their party vote has halved here in Nelson. Nelson is an area that's very dependent on core industries, fishing, forestry, horticulture and all those things. And so Nelson was never a seat that was going to buy into the sort of anti-growth sort of agenda that the Greens were proposing.
A number of people were talking about your possible retirement depending on the outcome of this election, but you seem to be pretty energised. Are you going to be hanging around for a while?
Oh, absolutely energised. I'm still got a few more miles in me left, and actually we've got some really important issues in Nelson in terms of the roading, the growth, getting new schools, in terms of water storage and those sorts of things for horticulture. I've got a very long agenda. Going to have a beer, have a relax, back into work Monday.
Yeah, well, I think you've obviously earned several beers, which you can go and enjoy now. Congratulations on holding your seat. Right, we're off to Andrea Vance at Labour Party Central, the Aotea Centre in downtown Auckland, who is with Willie Jackson.
That's right. No, Willie, you had a wee bit of a flirt with the Maori Party there, but you went with Team Labour. Are you pleased you hung in there?
I'm really proud of our candidates, particularly what's happening in Waiariki at the moment. Tamati Coffee, looks like he could just about get across the line down there. So just wrapped and proud of the performance from our Māori candidates.
That's right. So Tamati has been a bit of a star over the night. You've been talking to him. What's he been telling you?
Well, him and I are both not calling it because you just don't know what big boosts have been coming in. But he's surprised that he's so far ahead at the moment, but he's not calling it because he knows that Tururoa has done some good work, and he, it's not over till it's over.
What happened there? What do you think went wrong for the Maori Party?
I think they're tainted by being with National. That's the sad part of all this. There's no doubt they've made a big effort. Tudoro and Marama Fox. No one doubts the effort, but you're tainted with your association with National, and when your people are suffering in terms of housing, in terms of health, in terms of unemployment, they wear a lot of that, and sadly that's what's happened here. It's not all their fault at all, but you're tainted by their partnership or that association.
And so you're number 22 on the list, so on those numbers you're coming back to Parliament for the second time. Are you pleased? Are you glad about that?
Oh, very humbled by all the support. You know, didn't have the greatest of starts. The odd journalist had a crack at me, Andrea, you know, but it was, look, that's all part of the game. And it's great to be part of the Labour Party team, and it's an honour if I go back, which looks like the case at the moment.
Great, thank you very much, Willie.
Yeah, the aforementioned Wairiki, the gap now is out around about 800-900. It's been about 500 for the whole night, but it's expanding out, and Tamati Coffee's lead is increasing. So we'll go to Stacey very shortly, and she can
predict
further. Let's go to, well, we don't know. It's not over yet.
Okay, even Willie Jackson says it's not over yet.
Exactly. Peter Williams is at ACT Party headquarters at the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron with the ACT Party leader, David Seymour.
Yes, cheers, Mike. David Seymour is with me. Congratulations. It looks like you've won Epsom again pretty convincingly. But are you disappointed at your party vote? You're only 0.5. You wanted more than that, didn't you?
Oh, everyone in this election wanted more. Look, I'm honoured to be sent by my neighbours to represent them in Wellington, so thank you for re-electing me in Epsom, and I'll work hard for you for the next 3 years.
So why do you think your party vote is so low? Because you thought you could get over 1%, didn't you?
Oh, absolutely. But look, every minor party's taken a battering. Looks like 2 minor parties may be out of Parliament. The Greens and New Zealand First have lost serious seats. This turned into a 2-horse race, and it was a tough atmosphere for a minor party. Frankly, we struggled to get coverage because you guys in the media decided to report a 2-horse race. But nevertheless, I'm proud of the campaign that we ran, and I'm proud that we're going to be back in 3 years to have another bite at it.
So if it's a national New Zealand First government, is ACT going to be part of that?
Oh, look, I think it's unlikely. We've kept Winston Peters and New Zealand First out of government for 3 terms in a row, so they'll probably be pretty keen to keep ACT out if they've got the chance. But look, we'll play an important role in opposition because we know how bad Winston Peters is in government.
But what about in 3 years from now? If you're not part of the government, surely the National Party...
We just need to interrupt there with David Seymour at the ACT Party headquarters because the man of the night in many respects, Winston Peters, is about to speak at the Duke of Marlborough in Russell. Just standing by, it looks happy. There's the smile.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
At the very back, can you hear me?
Yes, Winston, we can.
About 10 minutes' time, the ferry's leaving, going back to Pāhia, and that's why I'm forced to give this speech now without knowing all of the results. And I first of all start by thanking the candidates that stood for New Zealand First all around the country, and all of their workers and everybody that went out there in the months that preceded this election to help a party called New Zealand First. I want to also thank my parliamentary staff who kept us in the zone in the most difficult environment, politically speaking, the most difficult environment I've seen since the advent of MMP 21 years ago. Can I thank all those voters who stayed rock solid out there for New Zealand First? We hope we could have done better. We'll do better than those polls are showing right now as they trend upwards. But I want to thank them for staying loyal in a most difficult environment. And by that I mean we have had MMP for 21 years. But we had a first past the post campaign being conducted as though the system had never changed. I regret that, and so do a lot of New Zealanders. But you have to deal with the facts, and I'm glad that my party was realistic enough to understand that we would be invaluable in the environment and enough stayed in to keep us there. As things stand, I believe that we do have the balance of political responsibility, and we're not going to be hasty with that. We're not going to rush out and make decisions and make all sorts of statements. And in fact, I will not be giving any answers tonight or tomorrow until I've had a full chance to talk to the full board of New Zealand First, our supporters and organisations around the country, and our MP. And despite all the provocations of this election, when I read that we were going to be doomed and gone, like in the Herald yesterday's media column saying it was the end of us, the marginalisation, Cinderellaisation, stigmatisation of New Zealand First went on, but we survived. And it means that the party that's the third longest surviving party since 1893 will go on. Now, there is some good news for New Zealanders in tonight's, and that is this. This party is a realistic common sense party. We don't like extremism. We believe in laws and policies that support the mass majority of New Zealanders and not just a small elite who may have got control of the political system, and the financial funding of political parties shows that in this campaign. But we have been strong enough and honest enough with our supporters to make it home and to have not all the cards, but we do have the main cards. We're not going to squander that opportunity. The decision we'll make, and every one of my colleagues will know that, it's not going to be premature, but we'll make a decision in the interests of all New Zealand and New Zealand first. That is the whole country, not ourselves as a party, but in the national interest. And that'll take some time. But, you know, the writs aren't in until the 12th of October, and nothing can change until that time. We'll have a decision well before that. So we invite you to be patient and not rush out and ask us who you're going to go with. If we hear that one more time, I think we'll be advocating a change of our political system. Just one thing, ladies and gentlemen, to have been in a most difficult campaign, as I say, and to see so many wonderful people around the country has been a real privilege. And it invites an enormous act of responsibility from all of us. To all of my colleagues out there watching tonight, please don't circumvent or foreclose on the right of your party and your colleagues to collectively decide what we must do in the future. Don't make comments that will embarrass the party. Don't make comments that mean that the party's democratic processes aren't followed. That's it. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you for all your hard work. I have to tell you, I am delighted to see so many members of the media, because we took a bus in the winter, cold, freezing months from Kaitaia to Invercargill and coast to coast, and we barely saw any of them. Anyways, better late than never. But we always knew that tonight, despite all the predictions, all roads would lead to Russell. Thank you very much.
There he is, Winston Peters, and he is the man of the moment. It's very interesting when the leader of the party addresses the rest of his party through the media and tells them to behave themselves and not say anything weird, and
Well, he does have one or two rogue ones, doesn't he?
They've not been united at all. They have gone off in different directions, and they've had to be called out on that. So that is valid, and
Richard
it's a good time to put his stake in the ground.
He seems aggrieved in the last couple of days.
Well, he's gone.
Yeah, he will be gone, and that's probably why he's aggrieved. But I mean, the thing that worries me about all of this is that what you hear there, we'll take your time. We're not going to rush. Yeah. You know, it's days away.
What does he not do anymore?
Sort of what you're seeing is the Deputy Prime Minister. That's what you're seeing.
So
he's only 38 behind in the seat, by the way.
Well, I had him at 45, so it's very close. That Northern seat's now very, very close. So what's he want? He wants Deputy Prime Minister. You were suggesting Tracy Martin wants a cabinet seat. He'll get that automatically.
I think 3 or 4 cabinet positions would be quite realistic, and quite frankly, if he had those 4, I think there'd be some level of comfort with that.
When he says we don't like extremism too, who's he going to cut out?
ACT.
Gone.
Yep.
Yep.
And the Greens?
Quite possibly
as well. Some strange
well.
people in the Greens from his point of view.
Quite possibly as well.
We'll see.
Well, we will see.
Because
but
last time he went in on this is where he had the balance of power in '96. Didn't end well for New Zealand First. This is possibly his last run. This is about a legacy, which was mentioned earlier tonight. This is the man who wants to leave politics at some stage. What is his leg? They're going to have to be a lot of money spent up north in regional.
That's why I think he'll go with the National Party, keep it clean and easy. Clean and easy.
There's one issue, though. I mean, I think that was a very rambling and incoherent address, really. There wasn't much in it, other than I'm not going to make a decision tonight. Well, actually, there are two partners to the decision. One of them is called National, which is fairly big, and it's going to be the one that initiates the talks. And I think that we've just got to get a sense of perspective about how this will unfold. I suspect, despite what Peter says tonight, English will be on the phone to him in some way, if not tonight.
I'd call him while he's on the ferry.
And that's right. There'll be some informal negotiations. I think the one interesting thing about it, though, is the commitment to have a decision by the time the writs are returned. Because that does mean by mid-October at the latest.
Exactly.
New government.
He said October 12th all along, didn't he?
Unless he changes his mind.
He could change his mind. Hold on, stand by. Hold on, have a piece of chocolate. We'll come back in just a couple of moments. More coverage shortly.
Alright then, 2/3 of the votes have already been counted, and the victory looks like it's impossible for Jacinda Ardern to win. The National is still high up ahead. Deputy Leader Kelvin Davis just arrived at... Oh, I've already read that one, sorry. The Māori Party is in trouble with even co-leader Te Lavio travelling in his Wairiki electorate with 2/3 of votes counted there behind Labour's Tamiti Coffey. Labour has polled exceptionally well with the Māori electorate in the selection and are posed to take 6 of the 7 seats reserved for Māori in New Zealand's Parliament. The Māori Party, which is currently on course to have no representation, has supported the national government, and the collapse in support could be read as a sign that Māori voters Māori voters have connected with Labour's message of change and are keen to unseat the national government. Labour Deputy Kelvin Davis said that his party was a natural home for Māori voters. We want better health and a better environment and better housing, and Māori are returning to Labour because we have discussed and valued these issues that Māori care about. And also National MP Nick Smith has sent off Labour to win the Nelson electorate, Kate Shuttleworth reports. Smith told supporters, "I've been around the electoral panic a few times. It's fantastic news to see Nelson again. National is in a very strong position. At 46%, it's very strong." So, those are the latest updates so far. So, let's go back to live stream.
And he resigned when he was investigated by the Serious Fraud Office in 2008.
Well, of course, and he disagrees with that proposition as well, but we've heard him, talking about that in the last few weeks. But the fact that he is now in this position where he's able to control which way things go, how are you expecting the next few weeks to play out? Are you expecting there'll be a level of kind of mischievous behaviour and character from him as he tries to manipulate this really to his advantage, as he has in the past, probably?
Yeah, look, he'll be entertaining all sorts of offers, and there are so many factors that he'll want to consider. One of them will be how many other parties are there. Obviously, just forming a coalition with National will be much less unwieldy than going in with Labour and the Greens. On the other hand, as I've just said, he's kind of collapsed these governments that have been late-term governments, the third-term Bolger, third-term Clark governments. And so maybe he'll want a first-term government, which is a bit more of an easy ride.
And finally, just 30 seconds on this. Do you think this is going to potentially blow open this debate about MMP again, which we haven't had for the last few years because we haven't needed to have it? Is this going to rack that up again?
I don't think so. What the voters have shown is that they're not that interested in the small parties, and that's been a trend over a lot of years since 1996, well, since 2002 particularly.
And the fact that Winston has now made that speech means that it's more likely, of course, that in the next wee while we'll hear from Jacinda Ardern and Bill English. We are waiting for them to turn up at their venue. See you shortly.
Welcome back. Lovely to have you. We are over to Corin, who's got some more results for us.
Yeah, pretty interesting too. Winston Peters' night, we just heard from him, has got a little bit better. He is ahead now in this Northland seat. It's not crucial to the outcome, but it's interesting. He is now 26 ahead. That's going right down to the wire. Let's have a look at another couple of interesting seats. Hutt South, Chris Bishop. Where is he at? He is ahead now comfortably, and he looks like he's going to take that seat. And that's an interesting one. Of course, that was Trevor Mallard's. Chris Bishop's put a huge effort in there. He'll be thrilled with that result. Christchurch Central, let's go there because that's kind of the other way around. Duncan Webb looks pretty comfortable there over Nicky Wagner, Cabinet Minister, so that's quite a good victory for Duncan Webb in Christchurch Central. And we'll go through to Oharu. Again, doesn't have a great bearing on the overall result, but we've got Greg O'Connor there leading by 6.53. That's starting to look a little bit solid for him. We've got, most of it counted there as well. And just one more too, we'll take a look at Auckland Central. And we've got Nikki Kay there starting to pull away. She looks like she'll be comfortable there as well.
Interesting, isn't it? Ahari is 700, Peter. Less than 700, you could still be there tonight.
Could well be. But I'm not.
No, you're not.
And I'm happy.
You're happy to hit your arch.
You're parallel life.
I am. Actually, it's a really, I was amazed how quickly I detached. I'm going to miss the cut and thrust of politics and the debate, but actually all this stuff, I've got back to being an observer and I'm loving it.
Good on you. Let's go to Green Party headquarters. Jack Tamer's there, of course.
Kia ora, Mike, and kia ora to Marama Davidson, who's with me now. So the Greens are sitting at about 6% at the moment. Are you satisfied with that?
My first personal goalpost was that the Greens have a voice in Parliament. It seems like we are going to be back in Parliament. I'm pretty disappointed. We've got an amazing top 10 and top 20, and I would have liked to have seen more of us get back in there. So that is a disappointment, but we're going to continue to fight hard for the issues that are important to us and have a Green presence on climate action, rivers, ending poverty and te reo in schools.
You are speaking as though a possible coalition with National is completely out of any realm of possibility. Is that the case?
Our members have said that that's not our case because of the values that we hold. National is too far away, and the direction and the harm that they have created for people, for awa, for our climate is just too much for the Greens' core values to deal with. So our members have been pretty clear about that. We've always said we want to change the government, and that's what we're committed to.
So there is no way you would reconsider that?
Me personally, again, they are going in the opposite direction of what I want for the future and for our country, and that's how our members feel. We were committed to changing the government, and that's what we want to. That's what we want to stay committed to.
While we have you here, I wanted to ask you about some of the other results from the evening so far. What do you make of the result Wyatt again?
Polls know nothing, that's what.
That's right, it was about 60-30
exactly.
Just a couple of weeks ago.
It had Tūroro. Look, Tūroro has been an incredible representative for Māori political issues. It's going to be sad to not see the Māori Party in Parliament. There was a place for them, and I think it's a shame that they may not get back in. But well done, we've just forgotten his name, to Tamati. Well done to Tamati. You know, he got out and campaigned. He certainly had an appeal, I think, with younger voters is what it's looking like. So well done to him, but absolutely I have nothing but respect for Ururo's work.
Kia ora, thanks for your time, Marama. We're expecting James Shaw here at about 10:30.
Okay, Wairiki has changed. They've called it, so...
They've called it?
Well, they said it's changed. It's flicked. It's gone. It's over. So Flavel's gone. He's out.
So that complacency. Okay, we've got to go to Wendy Petrie, who is just outside Jacinda Ardern's place in the Auckland suburb of Point Chevalier.
All right. Hi, Hilary. Yes, we're thinking that Jacinda Ardern is arriving imminently. The car has been sitting here for a little while now, probably at least an hour, and it's just started up. We've been told she's about to come out now. We've just heard Winston Peters speak. So any minute now, and they've certainly got a big contingent of kids still here, which has been like... It's been like...
Hey,
Wendy, look, 3 hours, so they're still very hopeful.
Can you actually see inside Jacinda's house? I mean, are the curtains moving?
I think
Somebody mentioned
that's illegal, Hillary. I don't think you're allowed
No,
to
it's okay. You can
peek
go.
over the fence.
You can peek over the fence. Possibly
We We
not
haven't
tap on
seen
the
a lot
window.
of movement. You saw earlier. Yeah, no, we're definitely not allowed to do that. It's a few DPS hanging around. They wouldn't be happy with me doing that.
they're
However,
a bore,
we've been know the neighbours next door, got to know the neighbours. We've been looking over the fence. Not a lot of movement going on. We are told that Jacinda Ardern's mother and father are there and some friends, and obviously Clark Gayford. They've been having some sausages and some fish bass, so they're certainly well fed. And now, obviously, they're on their way to the Aotea Centre for the Labour campaign party, and we're just standing by any minute now. We're expecting Jacinda Ardern to come out.
I
and
think if
head off
Jacinda's
to that
watching,
party.
look, I think she cares about the kids. And if she cares about the kids, it's past their bedtime. Quite frankly, it's past my bedtime. I think she should come out. Jacinda,
It really is.
do it for me and the kids. Come out, hop in the car. Poor old Wendy's cold. She wants to go home.
So here's the scenario, because of course Winston's spoken. Jacinda Ardern, she will come out, jump in the van, go downtown, give her speech. At which point, very shortly afterwards, Bill English will do that, and then we can all pack up and go home.
That's what it's about.
We're
so tired.
What do you want to hang
We've
around?
had cats and dogs. Now you want to go home.
What do you want to hang around for? Nothing's going to happen.
It's just exciting. All the electorates are coming in. People are there.
Look at his face. He is excited.
You've done nothing but stir tonight, Matt. Really.
I've just been telling the truth, and you didn't want to hear it.
And also,
I want to be very clear because apparently all
the
the other news media are saying this. So just be clear on TVNZ. Be very clear. National will not govern without New Zealand first. No. Apparently that's around as I think there's going to be an option. The only choices are going to be New Zealand First is going to be in the government.
Yes.
And it's going to be with National, it's going to be with Labour and the Greens. That's going to be the story.
Because you're calling National currently at 58 seats. You think they'll lose a couple. We'll go back to 56. ACT won't come into it if New Zealand First is part of the equation. So it's New Zealand First one way or the other.
Excuse me, is there any chance of going back to Wendy after my plea for Jacinda to come out to see whether that's worked? Wendy, are you still there?
This could be embarrassing if she hasn't.
Well, it isn't bad. Well, she hasn't come
still
out.
Here? Is Wendy still
Wendy,
here?
hi, love. Has Jacinda
The
popped
kids
out
have started
after
to do some entertainment.
after my plea to come out? No, she hasn't. It's tweeted.
Not yet.
That is
However,
awkward.
again, it's got to be coming. And the kids were all waiting. The kids are really excited. They're like intrepid journalists of 5 years' time that'll be taking our jobs because they are very excited. They've been waiting, looking, hoping. The fence is getting a lot of looks. Jumping up and down.
At least it's been painted. That's good. Okay, we'll come back to you very soon, Wendy. See you soon. Okay, right. Coroner's here with some more numbers.
Yes, we just need to keep reminding ourselves about where this is all looking. It is Winston Peters who is going to be the kingmaker. I'm very interested to see where these speeches are going to go from Jacinda Ardern and then Bill English and how bullish they will be in wanting to say that they think they can... Well, one of those sounds like something is happening, so I'll bring it back to you guys.
No, she's come out. She heard,
there she
heard
is.
my second plea. She is coming out.
Congratulations, Hillary Barry.
I've got power.
She's called Jacinda out.
I begged her. That's all it took. Telling the kids
Jacinda, what's your reaction to the result?
Oh, look, just going down now to talk to our supporters, all the people who have worked so hard for us. Look, of course, we were hoping for higher, but the work that people have put in, really proud of the team and what they've done.
Can you still be Prime Minister, Jacinda?
Look, an MMP, there are other people that are going to decide that, but obviously we haven't come away with the lead majority tonight. But there's still a lot in play at the moment. But obviously we hope for better.
Jacinda, have you spoken to Winston Peters?
No, I don't expect there'll be any conversations for a little while yet. We better get down there. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, guys.
And there she is. She is on her way to the Aotea Centre. She'll get, I thought it was potentially a little bit negative. I mean, she was never going to come out as the biggest party, but she's still very much in contention, I would have thought, if you were the Labour Party leader, to do some business. So I would have come out a little more positive than that. We'll see what she's got to say when she gets to Labour Party headquarters. Still to hear from Bill English as well before the evening is wrapped up. More in a moment.
Alright, we've got a brand new update here. Winston Peters, we won't be rushed into a decision. As it stands, National or Labour with Green backing would need the support of New Zealand First to form a majority government. But New Zealand First leader Winston Peters in this speech... Sorry, I'll read that a bit later after this. In a speech just now, says he won't be rushed into making a choice. He told supporters just before he left to catch the last ferry home. As it stands, I believe we hold the balance of power responsibility, and we are not going to be hasty with that, and we are not going to rush out and make a decision tonight. And I will not make a decision tonight or tomorrow until I have talked to all of New Zealand First. Despite all the provocations of this election, saying we would be doomed. The marginalisation and the stigmatisation of New Zealand First went on, but we survived. The party that is the third longest surviving party will go on. There is some good news for New Zealanders in tonight's result. The decision will be made. It will not be premature. We will make a decision in the interest of all New Zealand, in the national interest, and that will take us some time. We invite you to be patient. Don't ask us where we're going with. Jacinda Ardern has left her home to head to Labour election night party. She told reporters outside, obviously we hope for better. She hasn't spoken to New Zealand First leader Winston Peters. I don't expect there will be any conversations for a little while yet. You've heard that previously in the live stream, as she said that. As Eleanor and Roy reports, according to Ardern's partner, she has written 3 speeches in preparation for tonight. A victory speech, a gracious defeat, and let's keep talking. With Winston Peters yet to make a call on who he'll throw his support behind, Ardern is expected to turn up at Labour's HQ shortly and use her holding pattern speech. Crack open your finest malt, Ardern. Peters needs wooing. Speaking of Jacinda Ardern, I just can't help but to see this this photo I posted on Facebook of me with Jacinda Ardern. She was visiting Winery Mata on Tuesday, and I decided to go there to the Winery Mata Rugby Club, and I decided that I wanted a selfie with her, and so I took a selfie with my phone. And I got a lot, and I got 7 responses in 1 comment, but that one's from me with the chicken from Moana, because I really like birds and it's funny. Oh man, I really enjoy looking at that picture. Well, let's go back to the voting, and we'll talk about the photo a little bit more later.
Thanks so much for this very lo-fi live cross on speakerphone. We appreciate your time tonight. Thanks, Tamari. Cheers. Back to Mike and Hillary.
Just a couple of thoughts to wrap this up, by the way. It looks like the Maori Party are gone. Looks like it's all over, so we can say that they won't be back. So that's sort of that tension thing that maybe they are, maybe they're not. They're gone. Matt, you were right. Stacey.
I was wrong and the polls are wrong.
Sorry about that. Also, the Maori King. Big call, very big call, and what's his voice count for? Nothing.
Yes, so he backed
less than nothing.
Rahui Papa, and it was to no avail. And it's really interesting. So if Māori have all voted in the Māori seats for the Labour Party, then the Labour Party really has to bring the noise for Māori as a united caucus and show what they will do for Māori.
Well,
and looks like an opposition yet again. So I think Māori backed the change of government.
Isn't the story of the Maori? Isn't the story of the Maori vote? To be fair, it's just this drift. It's Labour. It's New Zealand First. It's Tariana. They just drift and
it's Labour and then if they get it wrong, they lose the seats.
Okay.
And they get it back because that's the default party. If you look at the party vote, always is. Now, they've got the mandate back now. They've got all 7 seats. Who would have thought? Now they've got 12 MPs, the biggest caucus. The deputy now is Māori. They've got a real mandate to do it properly this time.
Okay.
I think that's the challenge.
Let me, I think we're chatting also on the break, Corin Dan. Jacinda Ardern, I don't know what was going through her head, but you come out of that house and you go, great night for us. We've increased our seats. Look at where we started. Look at where we are tonight. We're in a position with the right coalition to form a government, and yet she's, well, sorry, it wasn't quite right. A bit negative?
I thought a little bit negative, but she didn't concede. She didn't, and she will now have the opportunity to speak, because the bottom line is these numbers behind us show National cannot do it with just ACT. They need New Zealand first, and as we've talked about all night, really, when Winston Peters is in the position where he can decide what's to stop Labour, New Zealand first, getting together, and then potentially going to the Greens and saying, can you give us supply and confidence? Now, I know the Greens won't like that. They never have. It's happened to them before, but that's a scenario that is in play, and it's one that Winston will presumably want to put out there because he wants both camps, if you like, negotiating so he can get the best deal possible. I just wonder, with Jacinda Ardern, will she be as willing to give up more than, say, Bill English? Bill English, this is his redemption. He's done very well to get the party where it is tonight. Will he be willing to offer more to New Zealand first? Whereas Jacinda Ardern has got 3 years ahead of her to shape the Labour Party and to come back in 3 years' time and be Prime Minister if she can win it. So will she be thinking a little bit more to the future? And maybe that was in the back of her mind when she was talking on the way to the headquarters.
Jeez, that's interesting. So what you're saying is Labour at 45 and New Zealand first at 9, that's 54. And you go to the Greens and go, look, here's what we're doing.
Yeah, you say to them, look, sorry, do you want to change a government or not? Winston doesn't want you in Cabinet. He might allow some ministers outside Cabinet. There's all sorts of arrangements. But that would be the most likely scenario in my view, is particularly given that Winston Peters, he was talking in that speech about the extremes and those sorts of things, it will be a little bit pointed at the Greens as well. Look, it's possible he's feeling a bit more open to them being part of a government, but that's a tough call for the Greens to make, and that's one, you know, if National was prepared to give the Greens a call, they might have to think hard, although I still don't believe the Greens will have it in them to do that.
Here's the problem with National New Zealand First. One of Winston's biggest deals is this immigration. And so he's on board with Labour in that in general terms, isn't he? But the National Party are a mile away from him. How do you get around that?
You get around that because immigration is easing off anyway. Come up with some review or some sort of way of saying that, you know, immigration has to be down to lower levels in a year's time. It's on a cycle anyway. There's all sorts of ways they can draw up reviews, inquiries to get around particular bottom lines. I honestly don't believe there's any bottom line. There's no bottom line that can't be overcome.
No, that's true. Are you prepared to take a punt on it? Which way do you reckon he'll go? As a gut.
I think because National, if after the specials they're still up around that 46 mark, then I think it's more inclined to go with him because that is closer to that 50. If it was 44, 43, then I think I'd be a bit less inclined. But at the moment, I would say it's more likely to be National. But it is entirely possible that it breaks down with National, can't do it, and there is a Labour Greens government that is absolutely on the table.
Okay, another interesting stat that has come up, and you've been crunching the numbers, Claire Robinson, is turnout, which is up significantly.
Yeah, so on the basis of 87.4% of the vote being counted, I'm calculating that turnout has risen by about 6.4% on election night 2014, which is a
significant is that?
Huge turnout, absolutely massive turnout. And if we add to that what we're thinking is going to be an increase in the special vote, that's going to be a much bigger turnout than we've had possibly since the 70s. So that is a massive turnaround. Now that's probably, hopefully, from my perspective, because I've been trying to get youth turnout increasing for 4 years, something to do with all the efforts that we've made to get youth turnout. But I think it's also a competitive campaign. In competitive campaigns, more people turn out. And that's great. It's great for democracy in New Zealand. You have to hope, though, that if the young people have turned out in their great numbers for Labour, that they're not disillusioned by this.
Just real quick, some flood of numbers in Northland. Matt King looks like he's won it. It's suddenly gone to about 400 in his favour. And Jessica Much is up at the Duke of Marlborough. Jess, what do you know?
Thank you. They're throwing to us shortly.
Yep, right now.
Hi, mate. Well, look, Winston Peters, some of the supporters have jumped onto the ferry to head over to Paihia, but there are still a few of us
here at the moment on the balcony, including New Zealand First MP Tracy Martin. Winston Peters has just said to us, you guys hold the balance of political responsibility. Pretty powerful position to be in.
It is, isn't it? It's quite scary, actually, because, I mean, this is the first time I've been in that position. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of conversation going on over the next few days.
So how does it play out over the next few days? What's the plan now?
Well, I'm on a plane down to Wellington on Monday. And then I've never been in this position before, quite frankly. I've spoken to others who've been in this position, so I've got some sort of an idea. I understand that I'm going to be part of that conversation. It'll come into the caucus. But apart from that, I'm just going along like everybody else at the moment.
Well,
it'll be really interesting to watch. Sorry about that, Jessica Mutchins at the Duke of Marlborough with Tracy Martin, who would be one of the favoured figures to be in cabinet. So you've just seen potentially there up to now a new cabinet minister there. Te Urara Flavel, he's lost, he's gone. The Maori Party are over. He's just being introduced tonight. It'll be fascinating to see what he's got to say, because I tell you what, of all the people who were supposed to win an electorate, a key electorate tonight, this really, in many respects, is the shock of the night, isn't there? A couple of potential shocks could have been your Greens may not have made the 5% threshold. Peters might not have been in the balance of power, but by the way, Peters' vote's gone up to 8%, still on 9 seats, but it's up to 8%. With this man rode the hopes of the Maori Party, and it's over. And so he's had a disastrous night. The Maori Party has had a disastrous night. The Maori Kings had a disastrous night. And all 7 Maori seats have gone back to the Labour Party. They had 6, of course, originally, but...
What do we think about Willie Jackson's suggestion that their demise is simply because they've been tainted by National? Is it that alone?
I think that is something to consider. Yes. And people, Māori voted for change, and getting in bed with the government, no matter what you achieve, Māori won't see it as enough. So, the Māori MPs, who are now Labour MPs, have to show that they can impact real change for Māori in the areas that matter to us, in our housing, in our poverty.
The plight of all small parties, isn't it? In government act.
Everyone suffered. But if Māori have invested in Labour, then they really need to show that they can make a difference.
Which will be difficult if Labour's still in opposition, because they won't be able to affect the change that Māori are hoping that they will do.
So we have another 3 years of talking about what we should do and what the government's not doing right, but not actually managing to impact any change, and that's devastating, and Māori don't have 3 years to wait around.
Great words of the future Deputy Prime Minister. Let's wait till after October the 12th before we think of the next government.
Well, he's a Māori man after all.
Yes, he is. So is Te Urara going to say, how long's that march? Well, by the way, we are following Jacinda Ardern. She's moving from Point Chev in Auckland. If you're outside of Auckland, from Point Chev downtown, very, very close. There won't be a tremendous amount of traffic out there. Bill English is going from the Pullman Hotel down to Sky City, which is about 2.5. It's downhill all the way too, so that shouldn't take too long. So we'll listen to
stop at the pokies on the way in.
He looks like he is just about to speak now.
Karo hahoki, and I feel for him because he has worked so incredibly.
It's a gutting loss. As far as losses go, it's a gutting loss, isn't it?
And it's a double blow for the family because his brother-in-law is Howie Thompson.
And let's just go. What was the other Maori seat? Here he is.
Sit down.
Howie's lost by 1,000 votes. Te Urara has lost by about 1,000 as well.
Te ware ki tēnā tātou katoa. Tēnā tātou ko tahi nei, I rungi tō tātou morai. I te kāina nei tēnei po.
Waiariki, who are gathered here today and bring ourselves together on this night.
Te koropupu aki no te ngākau, ko te aroha nui, kia koutou katoa.
My love, my regard for you wells up inside me.
O tira, e tahi e whakarongo mai nai te whakaata.
Everyone who's listening on television, I send you my regards.
Ai te tuatahi, me whai wāhi au ki te mihi, ki te Pāti Māori I uta I tau.
First of all, I must recognise the Māori Party. They've worked their hardest, uta ki tau, but they didn't get to exactly where they wanted to. This is not our day.
Ko te ao Māori ki atu, e wama, Pāti Māori, ko timu te tai, ko moi te kaupapa.
The tide has turned and the Māori Party reaches a crutch point. Even though I am sad, I can be buoyed by the fact that I know we worked as hard as we could for this cause of Māori Party. So he's talking about the genesis of the Māori Party and what it's about and what it represents. And I was the only Māori who was there in Parliament, but now this changes. But we can't do anything now. That has been decided. So I'm no longer in the beehive, but I come home to my beautiful wife. So there is some good that comes from bad. My words can't express how grateful I am to all of you who have worked so hard for this kaupapa. They're saying we will continue to fight forever, won't we, Māori MPs?
Thank you very much, Tree Donabia. To all of you tonight, Te Wairiki, firstly I just want to say to all of our people throughout the motu, all of the believers of the Māori Party from the South Island, Te Taitonga, I te tai, tokerau, Wairiki, Waigato, the lot. Excuse me for my kōrero tonight. I started to write something, but it fell to pieces after a while. I just want to start by saying to all of the supporters of our Māori Party who have believed in us for the last 12 to 14 years, thank you so much. I'm so disappointed with tonight's result that we didn't come through. Just to maintain that whole link to our past and what's supposed to be into the future. I'm just heavy of heart by the fact that we started a kaupapa believing absolutely that the time was right. That we could have a independent, strong, independent Māori voice in Parliament to fulfil some of the dreams and aspirations that our people had, unencumbered and fall back to the centre by kaupapa that is not ours. But the people have spoken. Our people have spoken. Even in Wairiki, they've spoken. And I can't get away from that. So I want to firstly say to all of you supporters, Māori Party supporters throughout the country, thank you so much, but most importantly, a few people right in this whare, those of you who have been staunch supporters of myself and the Māori Party for these years. I love you so much. Thank you so much.
Good speech. Nice guy, Peter, at the end of the day.
He's one of the best, and he'll be missed. And I think, can I just reflect on something Stacey said? Te Uaroa did a huge amount for Māori as Minister of Māori Development. Now, I'm not sure he's going to pick up that mantle in the new government, and if the 12 Labour MPs are all in opposition, then the whole risk is stagnation, frankly.
And where do you reckon it leaves Winston Peters and his referendum on Maori seats? Because his argument now is, look, when you had a Maori Party, you didn't want it, so what's the point?
But Winston's always said it in every election.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying he's not been consistent. What I'm saying is that
it's not a bottom line for him, but he will put it up. But over half of Māori choose to go into the Māori role. And, you know, it's only in recent years, in our years, that the Māori seats have been proportional to the population. It used to be a time that Māori seats had 3 times the voters of a general seat, and it was very happy to have them there. Now they're a real influence, then Winston's thing. But look, I don't think that's going to be a bottom line for Winston. No. I don't think it's worth the aggro. That Māori who choose to be on it, you try it.
Yeah, I think he also just knew it was a good line. It was appealing to some voters, but I think it's a movable bottom line.
He believes it, but just remember, there's a bit of Utu in this as well. Winston got into government the first time on the 7 seats. And he had a throat cut by his Māori MPs, and he's never forgot that. So he just thought, get rid of it. So I think there's an element of not principle here. It's a strategic decision that Winston's made, and he keeps to it. But I don't think it's on the political
That's agenda. A personal issue rather than the history and the wider issue that we talk about Māori representation.
Sure. But here's the thing, right? He's got to get National to agree to this. It would be the height of hypocrisy for the National Party, and Bill English in particular, to actually say, yeah, okay, and this is after they've been courting the Māori vote for years. So I just don't think it's going to happen.
Right, let's have a look at, see if we can't go to Labour Party headquarters. Looks like Jacinda Ardern has Kelvin Davis. Kelvin Davis just arrived.
Possibly soon to arrive.
He'll be disappointed because he, under different circumstances, might have seen himself as Deputy Prime Minister, but not going to happen. You always got to give up the deputy position. So
this is the first time as a Māori has been a deputy in the Labour Party. You're talking about the chat challenge. They're going to have 12 in the caucus. This is actually that in some senses the Māori Party's demise is going to put the ball back into the Labour Party camp, saying, well, what are you going to do? Because you've got the trust back. They gave it to New Zealand First, and they gave it to the Māori.
But do they understand? I mean, the point was made, I can't remember who made it. If they're not in government, they can't do anything, so the whole thing's pointless. And so, therefore, do they understand that next time round in 3 years that, look, I understand you're in opposition, so we can't expect too much, so we'll stick with you?
No, you can't, because you can't say, what have you achieved in the last 3 years? I've gone to this hui, I've gone to that hui. You need to make results for our people that really matter and desperately need it, and that is money.
Elections, and as we said, we wait till October the 12th, but there is Winston and Shane and Ron Mark, they're Māori too.
Yes,
and,
they are.
And so they're not all in one party.
No, but National will want to claim, because one of the reasons it talked to the Māori Party initially was to try and get them on side. So it will want to reclaim its strength in that area and look at who the Māori MPs in National are to see who picks up that Māori development portfolio.
And David Seymour is Māori too.
So what happens to the Māori Party? Will we see them again in 3 years' time?
Well, Dr. Lance O'Sullivan has said that he will stand in 2020, and I believe he has a plan, and it could be something that's hugely exciting.
That was last week.
Well,
last week he said
if you subscribe, I'm a big subscriber to name recognition, and that's why Gareth Morgan should have stood in a seat. Not that he necessarily would have won it, but I mean, he's a hero.
And what about a vision to plan for 3 years and to work for 3 years? But people have to be motivated and focused towards.
Here, it's election night, so we can say things which aspirational.
This will be good.
Name me a party which has come from nothing and can actually get MPs. It's always been MPs. The only person is someone like Winston who got lost and got a seat back. But actually, to start new, and Lance has never been an MP or whoever they are, this is hard yards. And Gareth, Morgan, and... No,
that is absolutely right. If you look at all of
Winston, Jim Anderson, yourself, every single one
has been grown out of having MPs in the House.
Okay, we're just going to interrupt because we have James Shaw addressing the Green Party.
If you had told me 2 months ago that I would have been happy with tonight's result, I simply wouldn't have believed you. But actually, I am happy with tonight's result. And so should you be, because current indications, they are only current indications, but current indications are that the 3 opposition parties command a majority of votes once the specials and the overseas votes will have been counted. New Zealanders have voted for change. So, Jacinda Ardern and I are going to speak on the phone tomorrow, and obviously we're going to discuss pathways to creating a new government for New Zealand. But tonight my message is for the Right Honourable Winston Peters. We do have some things in common. We have both, along with the Labour Party, committed to a net zero carbon economy by the year 2050. We've both committed to a significant investment in renewing the country's rail network and revitalising our forestry and our regional economies. And we have both campaigned hard against the low productivity, low wage New Zealand economy that this government has presided over. So, I know that our parties don't agree on everything, but now is the time to put those differences aside and to work together to create the government of change that New Zealanders want in the national interest. But there's another reason why I'm happy tonight. This has been the fight of our lives, and we are still here. We are still standing. Our environment, nature still has a voice in Parliament. The voiceless still have someone to fight their corner in our House of Representatives. The Green Party has been written off so many times in our history, and every single time we have come back, and we have come back tonight as well. And that comes down to you. That comes down to you. That comes down to over 5,000 volunteers on the most grassroots campaign that this Green Party has ever had, and all of those who donated every penny that it took to pay for this campaign. You knocked on 62,643 doors. You made 86,518 phone calls. You spoke to over 150,000 New Zealanders. You went out in the cold and the wind and the rain, and when things got tough, you redoubled your efforts and you went out and you did it again and again and again. I am in utter awe of all of you. Thank you. Thank you. This ground campaign, this is why I always knew we were going to get back, because this was the strongest ground campaign that we have ever run. And I do want to thank, in particular, the Green Party's campaign staff, and one person in particular who recruited that team, who led them, and who led what an extraordinary campaign, Sarah Helm, our incredible campaign director. There you go.
I got to say that although it's been the fight of his life, as he points out, it's a very articulate man, James Shaw, of course, but it was the fight of his life because the whole thing was self-inflicted, and they brought it all on themselves. And so in many respects, they should be grateful they're back tonight, because, I mean, what a shambles. If you're handing out awards or prizes for the biggest cock-up of this campaign, it was the Greens by so far, it didn't matter.
No, nobody would disagree with you. But there he is, standing up on stage and saying, we can form a government. I'm going to talk to Jacinda Ardern. She didn't seem like she looked a bit defeated.
He's desperate. His problem, Pete, correct me if I'm wrong, his problem is he's afraid he's going to get frozen out of this thing.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's the interesting thing about what he just said. He's talking as, if you look at that potential of a Labour New Zealand First Greens coalition, the Greens are the third player numerically.
Exactly.
He's basically saying to number two, hey, look, the number one and number three are going to do a deal and come to you and say, come and join us. I don't think that's necessarily going to
Well, hang on a minute. What he said is absolutely the truth. The three parties that were in opposition in the previous parliament now have a majority.
There's no way.
Oh, hang on a minute.
They got 61.
That is the pure numbers. Now, what is going to happen on the special votes is the Nats will lose one to either the Labor or the Greens, in which case the three parties that were in opposition
will have 62.
Will have 62. Why not say that?
Oh, no, he's positive, and I think we all agree that what Jacinda, and this is why her speech is going to be so fascinating, is that she needs to, pick herself up a little bit here and pretend like she might be in with a chance of becoming
her
Prime
body
Minister.
language when she left the House looked like she had given up.
And
it's not a criticism for Labor. I mean, they would have privately been hoping to be, much closer to 40.
Based on what?
Well,
based on they started with whatever what was it, 24?
That was a historical low for them, though.
Yeah, but that's where you start from. You end up at 36. It's fantastic.
Well, she's taken them back to where they were. Yeah. They're still actually quite far away from being government. I think the Nats would be sitting there privately pretty happy with this. I think this would have been about the best result they could pragmatically have hoped for.
But that's
still not a good one.
No, and I still think Jacinda is
the fourth term, yeah. It's absolutely right.
Yeah. Pretty good to be. Yeah. First time since the war, actually, for Holyoake under first past the post. I remember Keith Ewanson and Ian Templeton wrote a book in 1969 predicting Holyoake would lose, but they cautioned him by saying he could hang on by his fingertips. On an election night, he confronted them both and said, as you know, I've got very strong
Interesting thing.
fingers.
Let me ask you this, Pete. Interesting question. So, I mean, you can't say that Bill English didn't have a good campaign. You can't say that after 9 years at 46% you're doing extremely well. So all of that's true. But if he doesn't get up, if it doesn't go his way, what happens to him? Do you reckon he quits or not?
Oh, I think he'll stick around for a while, but then move on. But he can move on if he does. If that happens, I think he could do some of these head-held high.
No one's going to blame
him.
Can I say this? I think Bill English did have a very good campaign.
Excellent campaign.
And I think, however, he copped some damage. He was defending the indefensible at times. He is a man who's moved from an electorate seat to the list. He was thinking about moving out. I think if he does end up leader of the opposition, he will move out, and he'll be a loss.
He won't throw his toys out and go immediately.
So what are you going to have? Paul Bennett or Stephen Joyce?
I think the other interesting, it won't be Joyce, the other interesting thing to think about is that, say if National does get up and it is Prime Minister English, I actually think that will be quite a different government from the one we've seen over the last 3 years or over the last 9 years. Him with his own mandate and being able to sort of pick his own cabinet to a certain degree will be quite a different regime than what we've got used to.
But if you talk transition, surely we're talking about Winston Peters transitioning, perhaps.
Okay, Mike, we're about to hear from Jacinda Ardern.
She's taken a long time to get from
She is taking Auckland traffic.
Is that what it is? Did she not take the new tunnel?
They often close the Northwestern motorway at night. Anywho, Mike, let's pretend that you are still in charge. What are you telling her before she gets on stage? What does she got to have to say?
They will be having mixed feelings. Like, haven't we done well? We're going to win next time. Let's prepare for that. Or, my God, what James George said.
Yeah.
We've actually got a majority of one. Let's try and put it together. The people who will prevail will be we've got a majority of one. Why don't we try and put it together, people?
Why wouldn't you?
That's what you'll hear from her.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? For goodness sake, at least you can have a crack. What do you make of that Greens thing? The idea that Labor and New Zealand first go together and we go to the Greens. Look, sorry, mate, but bit of confidence as well.
Well, I think it's unfortunately what you said, Mike, that the Greens have nailed their colours to the Labor mast. And you could have a New Zealand first Labor government with Green support on confidence and supply. Where else do they go?
Yeah, exactly. They've got no other choice, have they, basically, at the end of the day.
I actually think Jacinda's probably already there, and here's what's happening. They're out in a back room deciding exactly the tone of her speech before she gets started.
Thought about
No, I think she got into that vehicle being a little bit down. We've heard from James Shaw, and they're going, come on, rise to the occasion, keep fighting.
Wait,
say you can form a government.
You are making an assumption there.
I'm making wild assumptions.
She doesn't really think for herself. Can I tell you this? My experience of Jacinda Ardern is she is very much her own person. And what you will hear when she finally says something is exactly what she thinks.
And there must be something very appealing, though, to her of actually sitting this one out and coming in as Prime Minister in 2020 at 40, of a strong government, having watched kind of 3 years of a pretty nasty mess.
I would have thought that was the plan anyway, wasn't it? I mean, in her mind, although she kept saying she didn't want to be the leader, I mean, she was waiting till, she just came in.
And actually, the team will be ready to go, the front bench will be ready to go, they'll hit the ground running, and actually can sit back and it will be a tide, no matter what. If it's a fourth-term national government, it will be tied.
And that gives her time to clean out some of the deadwood on her own front and middle benches and bring forward that new talent that's coming.
That's one of the you two in the back room.
It's one of the criticisms it the Labor Party, wasn't it, that but beyond Jacinda Ardern, the team's not quite as sharp and ship-shaped as they might have...
And very little ministerial experience.
Yeah,
There's only two people on the front bench, David Parker and Anaya.
Before you hear quick, 6 of the current Labor MPs have served in a government before. 5 of them were ministers, one of them was to be Speaker.
We're going to Simon now. Simon, are you going to give us some of that flourish again?
That was so long ago, I can barely remember what it went like.
I remember and I loved it.
Oh, thank you very much. I don't know if we can do that with this style of graphic, though, but thank you. The assumptions, the hypothesis, the conjecture, the negotiations, they'll all go on. But if you actually painted the map of New Zealand with the electorates, this is what it looks like. Those solid blocks that you can see are the electorates that are already decided. They are 100% counted. Where you can see stripes, those electorates have yet to be determined, yet to be finalised anyway. And yes, the country looks largely blue, but those are the population, well, they're the least dense population areas. And of course, the West Coast, Tasman, though, a large area, very, very loosely populated. But let's have a look at Christchurch. Let's just go zoom into Christchurch there, that little red dot that you can see in there. 4 of the 5 seats now with Labor, with Duncan Webb having taken Christchurch Central over Nicky Wagner. That leaves just Ireland with Jerry Brownlee as the last bastion of national holding out there. And of course, if you were to colour the country in the Maori electorates, you'd see a total red sweep. All Labor, all 7 Maori electorates going to Labor. But this is just a hypothesis. If we can zoom back out to the whole country, yes, this is traditionally what it's like. The rural areas favour National. The little pockets, the cities, favour Labor. Now we've gone to the Maori election. There they are. They aren't all 100% counted, and in fact, there's still a bit of counting to do on those. The stripes show they're not finished, but they all are going to finish red.
Okay. Well done, Simon. I'm assuming it came across the screen at some point, but Peter's lost Northland. That's official, so that's been a change. Let's go back to James Shaw, who's still revelling in his evening.
Party coalition with the Greens in a supply and confidence position there.
I think that New Zealanders will, be up for whatever coalition we're able to put together. I've always said that my goal is to negotiate a coalition with the Labor Party in which the Greens are a full partner. We've always said, right since we formed the Memorandum of Understanding with the Labor Party, that we would be happy to work with Mr Peters and with New Zealand
Okay,
First
we're going to pull out of the interview there with James Shaw. Jacinda Ardern has just appeared. She is at Labor Party HQ, making her way to the stage. She's been mobbed by cameras, as you can imagine. She'll be soon to be mobbed by her supporters as well, I'm sure. Goodness me, she's used to the cameras, but this certainly...
Just quickly, interesting to note, James Shaw, he's working overtime on that Memorandum of Understanding, and we're a full partner, and we're friends with the Labor Party. I mean, he's got the full sales pitch going there tonight, isn't he? Which just reinforces the fact that he's clearly sweating it, and has worked out that...
Aren't they all?
Well, I suppose they...
The MOU expires at midnight.
All Jacinda promised him was the first phone call.
Yes, it is.
And it expires today.
In fact, I did ask her several times during the campaign, I said, does that phone call involve you ringing him up and saying, sorry, can't work around this time? And she sort of never really answered it. She never really said, no, don't be stupid, we're stuck with them. So I just wondered, Mike, that memorandum thing might have been a bit of a mistake on Andrew Little's part.
Well, I think it's something you can lean on now, because you add Labor and the Greens together, they're not that far behind, are they?
No. So there she is. This in many respects, could be the speech of the night, in the sense that we need to hear something fairly fulsome from her, given what we've heard so far sounds defeatist. And presumably, once she's done, Bill's going to jump on the car and roll down the hill from the Pullman straight to Sky City, and it'll be interesting to see what sort of reaction they've got from the National Party supporters at Sky City.
Certainly taking her a little while to get to the stage. The Red Sea needs to part. Yes. You're quite right.
Future Prime Minister.
Yes, at what point in the future? Here we go. Let her get to stage. Everybody dying to hear what she has to say.
Well, the auto cue's there, so she's obviously written something.
That's what was loading on the motorway in the car.
95% of the party votes have already been counted at the moment, and National is still up in the lead. However, Labour is currently behind National 35.7, and National's in the lead by 46.2%. So it's pretty so National is gonna win this if they keep this up.
Kia ora koutou katoa. 7 weeks ago, I stood in front of the press and New Zealand as the newly elected leader of the New Zealand Labour Party. I called it the worst job in politics. I was wrong. The last 7 weeks have been nothing but a privilege. I have been incredibly lucky to meet and to talk with New Zealanders across the country. Lucky to have had a platform to talk about ideas and policies that I know will change people's lives. And lucky to have worked with a team who are as committed as I was to change. It goes without saying, though, that in a campaign and politics, you need more than luck. You even need more than your mum's baking, regardless of how good it is. The late, great Colin Meads once said, if you come off the field and you feel you haven't done enough, you've let the side down. I've come off the field knowing we gave it our all. Elections are not just about the race. It's about what we can do after the campaign that makes them so important. That is why, for every column analysing our relative performance, for every poll, I had a few different forms of motivation. They came in the form of people. They shared their stories, their time, and often their arms. I have had more hugs on this campaign than I probably had in my life. There was a young woman from Waikato University who shared with me the story of her struggle with mental health, a story that sadly I had repeated in almost every town I went to. There was the man in Kaitaia at the RSA who wanted us to bring hope and work back for their young people, or the woman in Palmerston North who just wanted to see us rebuild the homes her city had lost. And it wasn't just people, but whole communities who inspired me, including, for instance, the families of the Pike River men. Victory for us. Victory for us was always about victory for them. Now, I haven't done as well for them as I would have liked. And as Labour leader, I will take responsibility for that. Bill English and National have taken the largest number of votes. I've called Bill and acknowledged that and the campaign and work that he's put in. I genuinely believe we share a passion for what we both do. But the final outcome of tonight's election won't be decided by us. It will be decided by MMP. And sometimes MMP leaves us with an outcome that requires a little bit of extra work. I simply cannot predict at this point what decisions other leaders will make. But I can tell you what we will do and what I will carry with me in any conversations that might be had over the coming days. First, is a commitment that we will hold on to the ideas and issues that will help us to build a future New Zealand can be proud of. New Zealand can be a country that rids itself of child poverty, a place where everyone has a warm, dry home, a place where your health is everything, and the kind of care you get reflects that, where the education system is world-leading and the environment we have is befitting of the title Clean Green New Zealand. These are the issues. These are the issues that we must and that we will pursue. But that commitment also stands no matter what position we find ourselves in as a team. We will do everything we can to work with any party that shares our belief that New Zealand can be better, that life for our children can be better, and that the next generation can expect better. We will collaborate, we will do things differently, and we will keep listening and earning the trust and faith of New Zealanders. And finally, as Labour leader, I can assure you, we will remain relentlessly positive. And not least because I struggle to muster a facial expression that isn't a smile, but also because I do believe optimism and hope is at our heart. It is part of who we are as New Zealanders, and it is what we will bring to the job while we constantly push for better. But my final words are words of thanks. At the beginning of this race, I said we would run the campaign of our lives. I was only one part of that. Alongside me were the many thousands of people who reached into their back pockets to help us, who signed up to volunteer. And one of those people was Seta Langi. Seta is 18 years old. She lives in Mangere. She joined our campaign just 7 weeks ago, just like me, because she was the first in her family to go to university and she believed in our vision for education. Seta has door-knocked for us every day for the last 2 weeks, and last night was up till 5 a.m. sorting data before she started door-knocking again at 10 a.m. Seta is one of thousands, and she's one of the reasons I feel so humbled by this election. The final thanks goes to each and every single person who put their faith in us, who cast a vote for change and for Labour. From the bottom of my heart, I thank you. I believe New Zealand's best days are ahead of this. So on this night, I pledge all my energies, my every waking moment to ensure that no matter where tonight's result takes us, I'm committed to a future we can all be proud of, a future that is better. So let's keep doing this.
I must pause here to show you something. Hold on, just let me show it up. This is a picture of me with Jacinda Ardern. Oh, jeez. Here we go. This is a picture of me with Jacinda Ardern when she visited Wainuiomata, and it was pretty good to take a selfie with her, and I got a few reactions from it. And I'm so lucky to take a selfie with her. Well, I'll put it up for a little while. I'll put on the news. And I'll put on the live stream back on.
There's Clark Gate with a partner, so I don't know whether it's just me or that's not a winning speech.
No,
that's
it's
not a
not.
woman who's looking to put together a government.
She's not reaching out to Winston Peters. I mean, James Shaw was basically begging for a phone call from Winston Peters. She certainly wasn't.
She's James being deluded. I mean, I think it was
James. But she looks disappointed. Can't hide it.
But she doesn't have to hide it.
No, she doesn't. Yeah, that's
She's allowed to be disappointed.
Why?
This was a big...
She is in the race to be Prime Minister.
Because a few weeks ago, they were daring to believe it was going to be 42, 43, 44%, and it was going to be National in the position where Labor finds itself tonight. And so I think National, through a bit of hard grind, have turned that round in the last few weeks. And I think that's why she's looking disappointed. Because there's a sniff of victory, and now, frankly, I think it's probably been taken away.
Do you think... Here's Bill English. He's jumping in the car at the Pullman Hotel.
Mr. English, was this the worst possible scenario, Mr. English?
Are you feeling excited by these numbers? Passionate question. No, I'm not.
Question of the night. God, was that Paul?
It might have been.
Wait till he gets back.
It might have been.
Goodness sake.
No, Bill English would be happy as.
I mean, for a bloke who did what he did in 2002.
4 terms. Look, if government, this is completely historic again, because it'll be the first time in MMP that we've had a 4-term.
Hang on, he's just lost his majority. Let's get real. He's just lost his majority.
Well, you say, he has.
Can negotiate a government.
Let's just go back to the reality. Yesterday, he had a majority. Now he hasn't. He's gone backwards.
Okay. Fourth term. You think about Labor even in their second and first terms.
Okay, we're just going to go to... I'm just going to interrupt this argument. Paul, hello. Mike wasn't impressed with your question.
Hello, Hillary. No, I know it was very, very difficult. And the other thing that concerned me was the microphone was shut into the car door, so I was a little concerned we wouldn't get there. But I understand Bill English went for a run today, but clearly that was just one of those aerobic runs, because all the anaerobic running was as he made his way from the door to the car. But sadly, he didn't want to answer, as you could see, any of our questions. And quite clearly, the biggest question we wanted to ask him is, has he rung Winston yet? Because it really is the only scenario, as you've been saying all night, for him now.
So
it's about 850 metres from here to Sky City. I imagine he'll be there in a couple of minutes, and maybe there he might take some questions.
We only caught the end of him getting into the car, so he literally said nothing, did he?
He said absolutely nothing. He had some very sort of Queen-like waves. You know, the way that the Queen waves?
A sort of confident wave, should we say?
But as I said, I
Can we read anything into it?
Jammed. Well, I don't know.
Okay, sorry, Paul, I'm interrupting everybody.
I have to say,
we have Jacinda Ardern on the line. We are moving on.
Jacinda Ardern, it wasn't the result that you were hoping for tonight, but could you be New Zealand's next Prime Minister?
Look, at the moment, we haven't walked away tonight with a clear indication. And so, look, a little bit of time will be taken, I'm sure, by both major parties and the other party leaders to work through what this result means for us and obviously for New Zealand.
You've said that the first call will be to the Greens, to James Shaw tomorrow. Will you have Winston Peters on hold on the other line?
Oh, look, certainly my expectation is to have a conversation with both of those parties, absolutely. Tonight, though, my call was to Bill English, simply to acknowledge the outcome that he's achieved and to acknowledge him as a running mate as well. I thought that was the right thing to do.
What's your message to Winston Peters tonight?
Oh, look, at the moment, there's conversations that obviously need to be had, and we're open to those. So it's only a matter of when we're able to find the time to do that. I think probably the expectation will be that we do that as quickly as we can to try and give New Zealanders as much certainty as we can going forward.
A party official has said tonight, Labour Party official has said tonight that Winston should be part of a sunrise, not a sunset. Is that the message that you'll be delivering, that the public has voted for a change?
Oh, look, you certainly have seen a vote for change coming through in the way that that party vote has spread across those three parties. But ultimately, though, I'm sure the conversation he'll want to have is about policies and potentially what we can collectively deliver for New Zealand.
And obviously the mood here, people are still hanging out for those special votes. How many points do you think you could add? Is there a couple of % in it still for you?
Yeah, look, hard to know. Look, I would expect us to get a bit of a lift out of those special votes. Certainly that's fair to say, particularly given that you can enrol and vote at the booth, and those votes that were enrolments as well as votes, those weren't counted tonight. So I would expect and hope that we'd see a little bit of lift out of those.
And New Zealand First and the Greens don't traditionally have a good relationship. Are you prepared to play referee and be in the middle of those two?
Oh, ultimately, it's to our benefit if we work together. And I think that there's an expectation from New Zealanders for at least us to have that conversation and make it work. But again, there's a little bit of water to go under the bridge yet, a few more votes to be counted, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But those conversations need to be had in as quickly as we can.
And Labour did disappoint the Greens. Helen Clark did disappoint the Greens some years ago. Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to go with Winston Peters and leave the Greens at the altar again?
At the moment, we need to have all of those conversations individually with party leaders.
How long can New Zealanders realistically expect this to go on? How long will we be without a government?
Yeah, well, obviously the special votes are going to take a while to count. We're in early October before those come in. I think actually you've heard an indication from most party leaders tonight that our hope is that we deliver something quickly. No one wants to leave New Zealand hanging. It's in no one's best interest, but we've got to do it properly, form a stable government, something that can be relied upon by New Zealanders.
We've heard a lot about Winston Peters' bottom lines, but do you have any bottom lines? Is there anything you won't concede on?
Oh, look, I gave an indication tonight. You know, our focus is on housing, is on health, is on education. It's just on making sure that we deliver better for New Zealand and make sure we're a country we can be proud of again. So those are some of our core values.
We're right in the middle of Jacinda Meaney here. It's absolutely crazy. I know what it feels like. Do you feel that you have let anyone down tonight?
I'm a perfectionist. You know, I hold myself to a very high bar and high expectations. Of course, I'll, as a party leader, be reflecting on the outcome tonight, as you'd expect any party leader to do. But at the same time, we've come a long way in 7 weeks. I'm incredibly proud of our team and the work they've put in. But for us, it's all about moving forward together and have those conversations over the coming days. It's not over yet.
And on reflection, would you have done anything different? Would you have come back, or you hit back really hard this week on that negative campaigning by National? Looking back, would you have done that any earlier?
I would have always stuck to our positive campaign. It was at my core who I was. I wanted to run that campaign, and our team did too. Countering some of that negativity, yeah, that always was part of what we needed to do. I just hope that future campaigns, we don't have to do that.
Was it a difficult conversation with Bill English tonight, given that negative campaign? Was it a little bit awkward?
Oh no, look, it's politics. It wasn't awkward. We've had a few conversations in between the debates and things, so no, not at all. Absolutely fine.
Do you think that he feels that he has the moral majority, given he has the biggest share of the vote?
Certainly wasn't any conversation around that. I think we're both realistic about what MMP means for us.
Can you command that moral majority, though?
I think it's all about where the majority of New Zealand, where the majority of votes go across the other side of the House, really. And what we've seen tonight is that there was a majority who voted for change. It's just whether or not that change can then form a government. That's the conversation that needs to be had.
And in your conversation with James Shaw tomorrow, what will you say to him?
A general conversation about what next steps, and what policies we would want to work on if we were in the position to do that. But at this stage, it would be a fairly general conversation.
Winston Peters' speech talked about extremists, and he seemed to be referring to the Greens, whereas James Shaw was quite conciliatory to Winston tonight. He said that we have a lot more in common. Do you agree with that?
I'm not sure that we can conduct coalition negotiations based on election night speeches. I think there'll be much more in-depth conversations than that all to happen tomorrow.
So what's the plan for now?
For now, just to see a few supporters, say thanks for all their hard work, spend a little bit of time with the team, and a bit of time of reflection before we get stuck back in tomorrow.
And will you be having a wee whiskey tonight?
Possibly. Depends when we all finish up, but we've got a lot of work in front of us still, so not too much revelry.
And can I ask you, Clark, are you proud of Jacinda tonight?
Extremely proud. Yeah, absolutely. Just it's been a hell of a thing to observe and watch your partner go through.
And you got that fence painted tonight.
Multitasking like a boss.
Thank you very much.
Andrea Vance there at Labour Party headquarters, and an observation I made during the campaign, and she referred to it there, there was a lot of goodwill between those two, and I think there's a lot of mutual respect, and they genuinely like each other, so I don't know that phone call would have been all that difficult tonight. Katie Bradford's at the National Party headquarters at Sky City, where Bill English must be very, very close. What's the mood there, Katie, given that this is all up in the air, as they say?
Well, it's actually been surprisingly flat through the night, to be honest, given that vote and some of those seats Nationals managed to win. I felt like it was a bit flat, but in the past half an hour, it's definitely amped up a bit. There's been lots of cheers through the night when it's, particularly when it's showing Chris Bishop winning Hutt South. There's been a lot of interest in that. And just after Jacinda finished speaking, Paula Bennett got on stage to amp up the crowd. You can probably hear them cheering behind me now, but Paula Bennett jumped up on stage and sort of revved up the crowd, told them Bill English was on the way, said how proud she was of everyone's effort in this campaign. She was very happy and very excited.
Yeah, and they have run a good campaign. Bill English, particularly in the latter parts of the campaign, has performed really well.
Yeah, he has, and I noticed the change over the past couple of weeks in him. I have to say 4 weeks ago, he was almost a bit reserved on the campaign. The past couple of weeks, he's just been on the move, shaking hands everywhere. He's been relaxed, he's been happy. He clearly felt like he was in with a good shot.
I'm interested by the phone call too, because and I might draw the panel into this too, when Jacinda Ardern calls Bill English tonight and acknowledges that he has more votes, is she implying or saying specifically, you get first dibs with Winston? I mean, does she actually utter those words?
No, she wouldn't have uttered them, but that's absolutely what she meant. And Winston Peters has always been very clear that he'll start negotiating with the party with the greatest number of the party votes. And that's what will happen. But it doesn't make any difference because now it's just 2 phone calls and they start talking.
Who do you reckon, I don't know if you're the right person to ask actually, who do you reckon, I've always seen, and I don't mean this in a scurrilous way for the National Party, I've always seen the Labour Party as a slightly more principled party that will stick to whatever they believe in and not give it away and therefore pay the price for that, versus National go, you want that, sure?
Well, on the basis of the last 2 weeks, the Labour Party is infinitely more principled than the National Party. The National Party, my understanding, is that they'll keep their hands on the chequebook and do whatever it's required to do that. But let's see, because I suspect that Winston is the one who's going to make the final decision here. And I make the point that the 2 of national support parties are no longer in Parliament. They're in trouble. And they're dependent on Winston Peters, and on the face of it, the opposition has a 1-seat majority as we speak.
Indeed. That's a man you may recognise coming into the National Party headquarters at the moment, John Key. Is it... We need to get off what? Oh, John Key. We don't want to go back down memory lane of what could have been. Oh my God, it could have been a completely different life. We're back in 2014. But it would have been interesting. John Key said something interesting during the campaign. He said, I think I would have looked a bit old. I would have looked a bit old.
Really
he did. I would have looked a little bit old against Jacinda Ardern.
Compared to Jacinda and Kelvin, everyone looks
a bit old.
The funny thing is, though, John Key, since he hasn't been Prime Minister, looks about 10 years younger.
Well, we saw that with Peter Dunne tonight. I mean, I've never seen Peter Dunne.
I know, so relaxed.
He's no longer part of the whole thing.
Interesting, I think actually, it took the public a while to adjust to English, and it's quite a different style from Key, but I think actually they've grown to like him, and actually I think he's kind of, he's used his family quite well, he's kind of shown a bit more of his personal side, which I think people
There's nothing not to like about Bill English. It's just a lack of the joie de vivre was the problem. But actually, Bill English said something I thought the most interesting thing to me of all. He said, I've done better than I thought I would.
I think he did better than anybody. I remember when John Key stepped down, I don't think anybody actually thought that Bill English would be able to carry it off.
And I think there's quite a bit of nervousness within the caucus actually about what it would be like going into an election without the kind of John Key factor.
And just a reminder of
we all know that the last time that Bill English led the National Party was to the worst Peter for years.
Huge call and huge pressure on his shoulders. And I know what you were saying before, Mike, about they've lost their majority, and I get that technically you're right. But for a party that's been in power for 9 years, to still sit here on the night at 46%, and they've won the last 2 elections at 47, 47, 44, it's not a bad result.
It's not a bad result, but the brutal reality is their vote has dropped, and they've lost 2 of their 3 coalition partners.
Yes, they have, and that is the override.
There's only going to be 2 options, and I think that Jacinda is too polite to say it, and that might have been one of the things that the Nats were able to get in, because they were mongrels. There was no politeness or positiveness in the national campaign the last couple of weeks. They were boots, and they know how to fight. They lie and they cheat and they put the boot in, because they told mistruths right and thing. Anyway, put today, it works.
Gee,
now,
carrying
but,
that heavy here, Matt. Let's not that out.
I haven't even started. I'm being polite. However, those lying cheat. But anyway, the point is, it will either be New Zealand First and National, and New Zealand First, I think, will pay a price for that, which Winston's going to have to weigh up. And it's not going to be a minority Labour New Zealand coalition. It has to include the Greens. I'll tell you why. Why I think. Because it is about a principled position. That Labour and the Greens are campaigned here. I know they say it finishes up tonight, but handshakes are handshakes. But it's more clear than that. I think that National, having won the most votes of any party, then to give way to a minority government between 2 and 3, I don't think you can morally stand up, that New Zealanders won't accept that. And that's why I think they've got to have all 3 and say, we have the most MPs, or it's going to be a National New Zealand First. I think there is no option, I think, a minority government.
Matt's negotiating on behalf of the Green Party here, and I don't quite know why, but certainly...
The Labour Party, I'm not trying to negotiate, I'm just saying...
The situation where the Greens support a minority government on confidence and supply is certainly an option.
Why not? Having said what Matt says, I think you go in, if you were Bill English, it's Bill English v Jacinda, talking to Winston, and if you were Bill English, you would see yourself as favourite, if not a hot favourite.
I absolutely agree, and I think actually, because you could just tell in the tone of Jacinda's voice, I don't think actually her heart is that set on trying to go into a nasty, messy, three-party.
Pictures of Bill English arriving at the at Sky City this evening. That took a little longer than I thought. Maybe he's getting Paul's microphone out of his window.
Run it, really.
They are. Can I just say?
There's often a lot of cars down that part.
Okay, it's a very good point.
The traffic at Auckland is appalling.
Someone's going to need to sort. So here they come. He's geez, I don't know. Does he look a bit nervous? He look a bit edgy there?
No.
He's got a good strong stride on him, and he wants to get in there and he wants to say something. And
he's on his way. He's got to go up a couple of escalators.
I tell you what, can I say this? Yeah, can I say this? It's his night to win right now, because Jacinda's speech I didn't think was up to much, to be perfectly frank with you. James Shaw is desperate, sounds desperate, looks like a guy who's thinking I'm third party here and I need to do something about it. It's Bill's night to win here and to come in and say something positive, and we're going to make this happen, and we've done all right tonight, and we're looking at a 4th term, and we can deal with Peters, and we know Winston, and we're going to get on the phone and you just watch us work.
And I think that's what he'll do.
Mike, can I just make a point here? All the votes have been cast.
Well, that doesn't make any difference, because think about it this way.
We're not campaigning for anything anymore.
Peters is still the kingmaker, isn't he? I mean, you know, so National might lose a couple, Labour pick up a couple. It doesn't make any difference to the overall picture, does it? You're going to deal with Winston Peters, and it's whoever does the best deal with Winston Peters going to become the Prime Minister and the government of the day, aren't they?
But in that case, you're actually campaigning in front of one person, though.
Yes, you are. It's a beauty contest.
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to. So we stand by for Bill English at Sky City headquarters, and what do you do?
The camera in the room, just waiting for
Do you call Winston? I mean, when do you do it? Is this like a game? Do you go, well, give him Sunday off, and then I'll make it Monday? Or do you go through the back channels? Or
I'd call him straight away.
Go through the back channels, because you don't make a call unless the other person's going to pick the phone up.
Yeah.
So you talk about, well, why are you calling? You have that discussion. So you have a call about the call. So that'll be going on tonight.
Do you seriously say they're going to have a call about the call? Why are you calling? You don't know why he's calling.
But what's the parameters?
Good time for me to call your leader.
What are we talking about?
It's all Paul Manafort and Russia and back channels and you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Brian Henry, who is Winston's main sort of negotiating man, will be sitting there now thinking, right, how are we going to plot this out? He'll be talking to Wayne Eagleson, presumably be talking to Neil Jones, the 2 Labour, the National Labour Chief of Staff, and I think plotting out how the approach is going to be taken over the next few days.
Jeez. And do they get to... I asked it earlier on. So Peters knows English, and he knows the National Party. Peters doesn't know Ardern, never met him. I mean, that's got to be a disadvantage for us. I mean, how do you start a negotiation? Hi, nice to meet you.
That's not possible that he's never met her.
But you know what I'm saying? That's what he claimed, that he doesn't know her.
Yeah, well, never had a substantive conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they say.
Well, we can we can spend some time. I'll just put this. National doesn't like Winston. You know, they actually hold him in contempt. and they have shown it time and time again.
But they like being in government, though.
I know, but he knows that. Winston's old school. The difference is that once they make the deal, that Winston will be a good team player. After then, he's going to extract from both sides, no question. Now, I would say from his point of view, Jacinda's new and having the Greens, the influence which he would have in a government like that would be far superior than what he's in with National. The Nats are going to say, no, we've already done this, we've already done that, we've done it this way. I think Winston, to get things that he needs for his legacy, has got more chance of getting it from the other team than the current team.
So, Mike, you were in position when you negotiated the 2005 government, though.
I was.
So, I mean, he wasn't all that much of a bastard in those negotiations, was he?
He was, but we were in a different position then. He was an alternative, not a necessity, and that's what he is now. You know, in that time, there were talks going on all over the place, and he was one way you could go. This time, he's the only way to go.
Yeah, it's him or the highway. It's as simple as that. So where do we sit as we sit there waiting for Bill English? What do we think of the whole crossbench idea? If we put that out to pasture Matt, so he sits on the crossbench. So you don't think that's a go? Do you think it's a possibility or not?
No, I don't. I think the more likely party that sits on the crossbenches is the Greens.
Okay, so you think it'll be Labor New Zealand first with the Greens on the confidence
I think most likely, if there's to be a change of government, it will be a three-way coalition.
Do the three-way.
Here comes Bill English.
Here he comes. Just sorry to hold that thought. Here comes Bill English into party headquarters.
It's just dowdy. That's their campaign song.
I think they're pissed off is that they're not going to be a government. If they get back to government, they've got Winston.
And that's you're right. They really don't.
They don't want Winston.
Oh, no, what would have knocked them sideways is the Maoris losing. The Maori party was that man.
Sanders, we help us.
Yep.
Now, one of the interesting things about this election is that compared to 2014, Cunliffe's gone, Dunn's gone, Ture's gone, Flavel's gone, Key's gone. Such a different environment, such different pieces.
Well, at least he's got his arms up, so he started out okay. He looks like he feels pretty good about the night. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he's got to say to the party.
Getting his team up now, Paula Bennett.
Interesting about this because it's restored some credibility back to opinion polls actually, because the opinion polls have been pretty accurate.
They have, haven't they? Yeah. His family behind him now. They'd be pretty proud of Dad.
They've been very active in the campaign too. They've
lots of social media.
They're very active in the campaign, social media wise, and Mary's been with them for most of the journey. He looks like he's the first one tonight so far. He looks like he's genuinely enjoying himself. Here he goes. No auto cue. He's going with the notes. Dipton Styles.
Ladies and gentlemen, what a campaign! The voters have spoken, and now we have the responsibility of working to give New Zealand strong and stable government. But let's just take this moment tonight to celebrate the hard work and success of the National Party. Just short of half of all New Zealanders voted National and 10% more than our nearest rivals. But it's not so much the numbers that matter, but that expression of confidence that so many people have in the direction of this proud and confident small country. As you know, on tonight's provisional results, National has won more seats than Labor and the Greens combined. No one expected that just 3 weeks ago. But of course it's clear that neither Labor nor National can form a government on their own. I want to congratulate Jacinda Ardern and Labor on their result and thank them for a hard-fought, competitive campaign. As we go into negotiations with the intention of forming a stable government that enables this country to deliver for New Zealanders, we want to build on the strength of the economic direction which has been the foundation of so much success over recent years for New Zealand and will be over the next term of government. This election campaign has motivated and engaged more New Zealanders than a campaign that I can remember. And that has helped to understand the shared goals that all New Zealanders want to achieve, a government that I will work to form and to lead, will work hard to realise these ambitions that so many New Zealanders share. Because a strong economy means that we can make real change and real progress on the challenging long-term issues that New Zealand wants to deal with. Supporting the most vulnerable, protecting the environment, ensuring the strength of our regions. It's important that all New Zealanders can achieve their potential. It's important to them. It's important to their families. It's important to me. And so many New Zealanders supported us, not just because of the potential for stronger economic success for New Zealand, but because through this campaign we had the opportunity to share our challenging ideas about how to resolve New Zealand's most pressing problems. And National demonstrated that we have the energy and the drive to take New Zealand forward. want to acknowledge the strong performance of Winston Peters and New Zealand First. The voters of New Zealand have given this New Zealand First a role in forming the next government. In the next few days, we will begin discussions with New Zealand First, finding common ground, and most importantly, taking on the responsibility of forming the kind of government that will enable New Zealand to get on with its success, and that is a strong and stable government for all New Zealanders. Until a new government is formed, we will run a responsible administration abiding by the usual caretaker conventions. We don't need to rush this process, but equally, with the strong result of the National Party, with a much larger number of seats than our rivals, the indication New Zealanders have given of support for the direction this country has taken, with the very clear opportunities and with the opportunities to do so much better, which we debated so competitively and strongly through the election, it is important that we are able to move reasonably quickly to form a stable government. For now, I want to thank all of you for a great campaign. We gave it everything and we got better and better. Thank you for the opportunity as your leader to debate intensively and consistently and strongly with New Zealanders about how this country can do so much better. May I thank in particular the National Party's President, Peter Goodfellow. I want to thank my fantastic, energising Deputy, Paula Bennett. And our tireless, determined, consistent campaign chair, Stephen Joyce. I want to thank Joe DeJew, Greg Hamilton, the party's board and staff, all our electorate chairs, committees and volunteers who put so many long hours into this campaign. I want to thank our ministers, our MPs and our candidates. You know, along with our volunteers, in this campaign, more than others you can remember, there was some real pressure, some real competition, and the more of it there was, the better we responded. Thank you for that. Because in the 5 weeks of this campaign, this party demonstrated, its volunteers and its MPs, that the time we've had in government has equipped us so well to do so much better in the next term. But now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to turn from celebrating the achievement of around 46% of the vote, more than our rivals, to turn from that celebration to our responsibilities to New Zealanders who voted in this election and who want to see strong and stable government. And I want to say to all of those New Zealanders who voted National, and particularly in the last few weeks with so much enthusiasm, thank you. Thank you. And finally, to my family who took some part in the campaign, you may have noticed. Thank you for your inspiration and your support. It was great to have at least one of you by my side most days. Luke, Tom, Maria, Rory, Bart and Xavier, and of course, most of all, to my lovely wife, Mary, thank you for the love. And for the determination that you've shared with over 1 million New Zealanders tonight that have brought us to this place at this time where we can negotiate to be a fourth-term national-led government.
Right, we are going to return. We will speak to Bill English shortly after the break.
Welcome back to our live stream. It's been a while since you've seen us. That's because we haven't taken an ad break in quite a while, but we're here with Stacey Morrison and Peter Dunn. Peter, that sounded like a victory speech, did it not?
Oh, it was, and that's a Prime Minister talking, whereas I think the other speeches tonight have been either wannabes or disappointed people, and I think that was a very impressive performance from English.
A lot of talk about responsibility as well, responsibility to form a government and deliver on this, but of course Winston is going to be the kingmaker, we know that now. Yes. How's Bill English going to play this, do you think?
Well, I think he's setting the scene now, that it's going to be very much on his terms, that he's going to negotiate in good faith, but he's got a very clear view about the shape of the government that he wants and that he expects to lead, and I think that's good, because I think otherwise New Zealand First will be the tail wagging the dog once more.
I think that's the basis, that's what he's saying. Okay, so everything when we come into this coalition will be about our responsibilities and the role that we hold as the main centre of power in terms of the government.
Stacey, there was no mention in that speech of the Māori Party, and we know that the Māori Party have supported National in the last few terms. What do you make of that? Was that a glaring omission?
I think it was, unless we missed it, so I will give them those grounds, but I think that it has been a genuine partnership and it should have been recognised, so that's unfortunate.
How will the Māori Party be feeling tonight? I mean, have you...
Devastated.
Yeah.
And this means that Māori tried to vote for change, so they all went in the Māori seats with Labour, so now Labour has a huge responsibility, if we use that word again, to deliver for Māori and to do that outside of government, well, outside of the being a governing party here.
Jess, there's been some confusion as well in the last few minutes about the possible mixes, the coalition arrangements. A lot of young people, it seems, don't actually understand how the system works, and the fact that we could end up with a Labour, Greens, New Zealand First arrangement.
Yes, absolutely. So I think when James Shaw sort of came out and made that sort of reference that in his speech, we saw a lot of commentary on Twitter from the young people kind of like starting to do the math quite literally, and actually realise that that could be a possibility. But I think it just sort of goes to show with those sort of younger voters that they are still trying to learn the system, figure out what the processes are, and I think if anything, this youth quake and the conversation about this election will mean really good things for the next election and how engaged we are and
Stacey, we talked about the fact earlier that some young people don't even remember 1996 or don't remember what Winston has done and how this process has played out.
I think there just needs to be a lot of work done still about understanding, about processes,
well, that's
using
it.
your vote vote strategically.
I hope you have a wonderful day.
How that works in
Thank you
all
for
the angles,
watching.
because that's how we ensure that we really are powerful citizens.